Salutations!
Welcome to the Film Mages Podcast, where the popcorn is our ammunition, the couch is our foxhole, and the cinema is our place of worship.
Now let me see your war face. Ah!
Well, it's the Late Late Show with Zack, Mick, and Alexis coming at you from the nighttime hours of 8:30 p.m.
You know what I've tried recently?
Yeah, what are you drinking right now?
So this is I'm on like a health kick.
Okay.
And this is completely, can you see this, Alexis? See this?
There's some
Looks
sort
like
of
slush.
You heard about
watery
this?
gunk.
It's,
It looks brown
yeah,
or
it's
purple in
not,
this
no,
light.
it isn't.
It is in fact red.
It's red. It is unsweetened cranberry juice with chia seeds in it.
Ugh.
Yeah. Which chia seeds
Do
were
you have
like used
a UTI?
No. Well, I didn't before, but I definitely don't now. Because I'm drinking it.
Awesome.
You know, chia seeds were used by Aztec warriors for vitality.
That's cool. Because I've noticed you looking kind of gaunt and pallid like a ghost over the past
I'm
month
sorry,
or so.
but hearing a white man make the statement, did you know that chia seeds were used by Aztec warriors?
This is colonialism in live feed right now.
This
It's
is
happening
awesome. You're the exact kind of white guy we need for this moment culturally. I'm so happy you chimed in with that.
Of course.
All right. God. Well, hello. It's the Film Majors. It's not just the Late Late Show. It is the Film Majors. I'm Zach.
I am Mick.
I'm Alexis.
Who's that? That is Alexis.
That's Alexis.
Alexis, you been slurping anything weird lately?
Yeah, anything that gives you vitality.
Slurping weird things. No, I left that behind in my youth.
Proud of you.
Nice.
You just choke on a chia seed.
Chia seed went down my pipe. They get so like jello-y.
Great. Awesome.
do.
Please describe the fucking consistency.
Do you not like chia seeds?
Not to drink.
What do you do with them?
I have no strong feelings on chia seeds.
Yeah,
So
when I
Alexis,
was
what
on
do you
a
say?
health
Get
kick-
us out of this.
I was about to agree. When I was on
no.
a health kick, I literally would make like cucumber lemon water with chia seeds in it, and it was perfectly fine. I mean, like it keeps you a little bit more full for longer, for sure. I mean, it's a good source of fiber, so it will keep Mick regular. So I know you both
That'll be a
intimately,
fucking
so I
first.
know that is not a problem for either of you, but.
Good God.
Oh, man. I haven't taken my evening shit yet, but I did just eat dinner, so maybe that'll happen while we're recording.
Oh, is that what you're referring
while
to?
we're recording.
Yeah, I might just fucking take a deuce right in this seat. Who cares? We all know each other.
Oh, my God.
We're all friends.
You know, my parents listen
You know,
to the show.
your
I know. I
shits
do it
are
for
way
them.
too violent for you to do that out in the open.
You know, I have to say, that's what I love about a vegetarian diet. It's solid, man.
Yeah, well, I call it getting the devils out.
And the odor is not there. You know?
Our bathroom disagrees.
What are you talking about?
You've taken some stinky deuces.
When? Was this a while ago?
I don't know. It's happened.
That's because I was on a diet of cheese.
You just eating cheese.
Just cheese.
I haven't eaten any cheese in a little bit.
Really?
My favorite thing.
Good for you, man.
My favorite thing, anytime people switch up their diet to vegan or vegetarian, and nothing reinstated this more than when my mom was briefly vegan for a few months, is when people are like, did you know that your poop, it just doesn't smell anymore after you go vegan? Did you know that? And I'm like, yes, I did know that. I've known a lot of vegan people for a long time. So yeah, I did know that. But thank you so much for telling me again. I love that for you.
It's true.
Mick is fucking choking to death. That doesn't look good, man.
Here's the thing. It's actually, the chia seeds aren't the problem. It's the unsweetened cranberry juice.
Mick, explain this to me. What's going on?
Yes, there it is. I've been trying to tee you guys up for like the last 5 minutes.
No, I wanted to hear you jam on that for a little bit more.
It is actual sludge.
Yeah, that looks bad.
I'm like, how many fucking chia seeds did you fucking put in there, bruh?
It's a 50-50 ratio of juice to seeds.
I'll give you
Jesus
a 50-50
Christ.
ratio of juice to seeds.
Ew.
only just put in like half a cup or something.
Half a cup
What?
in a single go?
Like a tablespoon or
Jesus Christ. Guys, so this is probably going to be a big episode for us.
I just remembered this is a movie podcast.
That's right. Well, we were just discussing that Mick knew that I had ADHD, and I think this is a really good example of that.
Yeah, how you infected all of us. Is it contagious? Am I catching it?
My girlfriend thinks I have ADHD. She thinks I'm undiagnosed.
Well, you know.
And I will remain that way.
Ain't no problem if they
what's
don't
really
tell
funny
you have
is
one.
that the neurodivergent people tend to all find each other. So
That's right.
I don't want to delve into this
we were besties
anymore.
for a long time. That probably says more
everybody
about
shut
you.
up. Everybody shut the fuck up. I refuse to acknowledge my problems.
I always knew you were a sociopath, Zach. I always knew it. Why do you think we live together?
Oh my
Jesus.
God.
Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
Because I got a fucking thick ass and a fucking dick like a red sequoia.
Again, my parents listen to this podcast.
Hey, how's it
I
going?
watched Society of the Snow the last time that we had been on the pod?
I am not sure.
No.
But you watched Society of the Snow,
Wait,
I
did
believe.
No, I didn't because I finished it after we did the pod last week.
right,
That's what
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
I believe I'm the one film
Yeah.
major who hasn't seen it.
You should check it out.
Yeah, no, I've heard it's
crazy
great.
good. Alexis,
You
what do
know
you
what?
think?
I do agree. I think that that their nomination for the makeup and hairstyling for that movie is totally valid.
Oh, 1,000%.
That shit was.
The guy whose goggle or glasses break into his eyes, and then afterwards he's all swelled up and black and shit. That was disturbing.
That was horrible.
Yeah.
Oh my
That
god!
shit
Well,
was so spooky.
this is a great little segue into the fact that
Hey, that's right.
we're recording this on Wednesday, January 24th. Oscar nominations came out yesterday, and when you know
right.
we're talking
They
about two
did.
Best Picture nominees today, who thought of that?
That's pretty
Who thought of
on point.
that?
The award season is upon us.
It truly is. We're
It truly is. We're getting reissues of movies in theaters, so I'm going to be able to enjoy some of them that I didn't get to see in theaters.
fuck yeah. So here's a fun thing. I have seen all of the Best Picture nominees. This is the first year in maybe my whole life where Oscar nominations have come out, and I have already seen all of the films nominated. Usually I have to go back and watch one or two. So I'm just...
Yeah. I'm only one out, and it's because they literally have not dropped the zone of interest over here.
Oh, yeah.
And you know when they're going to drop it over here?
When?
In fucking March.
Oh,
like
my
right
God.
before the fucking show. I'm
Holy
like, that's
shit.
so rude.
Well,
you're right. Me too.
yeah, you've seen all of them?
Oh, wow.
Well, you know, I'm
didn't even
sorry they're
realize that.
depriving you over in Fresno, Alexis. Maybe next time you pop over to LA, it'll still be playing somewhere.
Alexis, I wish I could say I can't wait for you to
Yeah,
see
'cause
the
that's how
zone
I
of
wanna-
interest, but I can't say that. You should watch it, but it's not a good time. I mean, I know you know that.
I'm like, I'm not sure I'm gonna spend a couple vacation days of mine watching the Holocaust movie.
Yeah, I can understand
I'm in LA
that.
next week.
Again, I need to reiterate, I watched The Zone of Interest at like 9 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And had a fucking awful day afterwards. But
Really set the tone there.
let me rattle through the Best Picture nominees real quick. So, for Best Picture, our nominees are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest.
That's pretty solid right there.
This
That's
is
pretty
one
stacked.
of the better lists of nominees that I have seen in a while.
I stand by it. 2023, I think, is a damn good year for movies since 2019.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I think that it's definitely, at least in the like prestige picture category, it's fucking a deep bench. I'm a little sad to see Maestro in there and not something like May December. But listen, I didn't hate Maestro, but that's the one movie out of all of those that I gave less than a 3.5. But who abandoned Snoopy in the vestibule? Who abandoned Snoopy in the vestibule? Alexis, does Summer sing anymore?
That's a really good segue, actually. I finally watched Maestro.
What do you think then?
Yeah, you guys are both right. Cinematography is fantastic.
It's gorgeous.
Music by Leonard Bernstein is wonderful.
Summer
as
no
it
longer
should
sings
be.
at me anymore.
But it's hard to give that props for having good music by Leonard Bernstein, because it's like, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Carey Mulligan is exceptional. She's exquisite. And it really took me a while to get behind Bradley Cooper as Leonard.
I think he's good in the movie.
He's good, but in my review, I wrote that it took me damn near half the runtime for me to finally get into the film and to buy him as a human and not as Bradley Cooper doing a bit.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was so much of this kind of effeminate transatlantic thing happening where it seemed so.
Don't ignore the piano player.
It seemed so performative, which, Leonard Bernstein, is probably kind of like that in real life. I think he's probably
he was a big personality.
Yeah, big personality, flamboyant person. But partly why I love one of the movies that we're talking about in today's episode is because it's kind of the antithesis of Bradley Cooper's approach to playing Leonard Bernstein.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that later. And then the other new movie I watched was American Fiction. Finally.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, that was fantastic. That was really, really good.
It's a really funny movie.
You know what? Hold on.
It was very
first,
funny.
I
saw it last night.
I'll talk about it. Hey, I said it first.
Oh, I really liked it.
I said it first, bro.
Okay, bro. Chill out, bro.
Let the boy talk first.
Boys.
Actually, now that I said that out loud, Alexis, what do you think?
Yeah, you want to walk that one back, buddy?
Take it away.
You want to think about the episode we're doing today?
Wait, what? Backtrack. I totally lost that.
I was really into the patriarchy until I learned that it wasn't all just about horses.
Yeah.
Alexis, what do you think of American Fiction?
I thought it was really fun. I took my friend Raul to go see it, and we were just laughing out loud at some of the outlandish kind of scenarios, and it made a really good point at towards the end about how people don't really want to see a story about Black people doing well, and I love that the whole point of the movie is for you to see a story of a Black well-to-do man doing well, even if he's in this kooky situation, to see just him and his family. And also, can I just say that there was a moment when I saw Sterling K. Brown for the first time, and he turned around, and I was like, oh my God, is that the most scrumdiddly-ishest booty I have ever seen in my life? Oh my God. Holy shit.
She turned into Louis Armstrong there for a second. Oh my God. That's the most scrumdiddly-dumptious ass I've ever seen.
Oh, so it's great how there's a whole thing I just cut out of the episode that you didn't hear to spare Mick's career.
Are you serious? Come on.
We'll see. We'll see how it plays. We'll see how it plays.
Come on.
Audience, write in. Do you want to hear Mick's Louis Armstrong impression?
Yeah. What's wrong with that? It's distinctive.
Oh, boy. Sterling K. Brown, Oscar nomination. You know who didn't get a fucking Oscar nomination?
Yeah.
Charles Melton.
That's okay.
It kills me.
He's young. He'll have a chance.
I know.
But that was the best supporting performance of the year.
I don't agree with that,
I
actually.
think it's just spectacular.
I don't agree. I mean, hey, it was fantastic. I mean, really, really, I don't want to diminish what he did, but I'm not as upset about it as you two.
Man. Yeah, no, I
was really bummed about Zac Efron not getting a nomination.
That I'm more
or just
bummed
not getting
about.
Really any... I just was kind of bummed about him not getting much recognition at all across the board, anywhere for the Iron Claw.
Yeah, I feel
because
yeah,
he's just getting totally ghosted over.
Yeah, I feel like part of that is probably it being distributed by A24 and them only having so many resources to put behind campaigns for movies, and
they did well this year.
Yeah, they put it behind Past Lives and The Zone of Interest, and is there another A24 movie nominated? Maybe it's just those two that are up for Best Picture. That,
here's the thing. I haven't seen The Zone of Interest, so I really can't say whether or not I agree about Jonathan Glazer being included in the Best Directing category. So, I guess I can't really chime in. But I was really bummed that, neither, specifically, Celine Song nor Greta Gerwig was included in that. So,
yeah.
It just is what it is.
I am going to say, though, if you asked me who my favorite female director was from this year. She got a fucking nomination. Let's go, Justine Triet.
Justine Triet.
Fuck yeah. I just think that's an impeccably directed movie, and like, I think that it's not so much with Past Lives, because that's also like a very sort of quiet, understated movie. But like Barbie,
I think it's really impressive that it's her first feature.
Oh, absolutely.
And that, like, that's what she was able to pull off. And by telling them to be so reserved, like to hold back so much, to never touch. You know, it was one of the things that she directed them to do, which is so, I don't know. There's so much that I really liked about that movie. So, you know, it was my number one choice for last year. So, you know, I feel very strongly about it.
Yeah. I think that Anatomy of a Fall is not as showy a directing feat as either, you know, Barbie, which was snubbed. And, you know, I think that if I didn't have Barbie on my best of the year list, but like, if you think that's one of the best movies of the year, you kind of have to acknowledge Greta Gerwig, because that movie is like a directing feat. But I like that something like Anatomy of a Fall, which is not as showy, still got recognized, because I think that's an incredibly well-directed movie.
I'm going to say something that's a hot take real quick.
Get spicy with it.
America Ferrera...
Is it a hot take? Because I think I might agree with you, maybe.
America Ferrera does not deserve the nomination. I think that is a mistake. We rewatched the movie, and I wasn't at all like, oh, this should be nominated. What should have been for Best Supporting Actress nominated with Julianne Moore for May December.
She is fucking fantastic in that movie.
That's a fucking Academy
really
Award nominated performance, and I'm kind of fucking...
Who else was nominated in Supporting Actress?
I'm kind of flabbergasted that America Ferrera got it.
So, Supporting Actress nominations are Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, America Ferrera for Barbie, Jodie Foster for Nyad, and Davine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers, which is like the biggest lock of any of the categories.
Yeah, I'm really between Davine Joy Randolph and Danielle Brooks, because when I saw The Color Purple, Danielle Brooks was like just fucking fantastic. Like, so much power and emotional core to her performance. So, like, I honestly, if she won over Davine Joy Randolph, I wouldn't be mad about it, to be honest.
For sure.
And it's kind of crazy that category is, like, so stacked, because, like, those are kind of my two front runners, like, even over, like, Emily Blunt, and I loved Emily Blunt.
It's not as stacked as it could be, though.
Man, you're coming for America Ferrera.
She's great, but she has one fucking monologue.
We gotta wait to get into it.
All right, we'll get into it. But really quickly,
that's not the hot take I would agree with. My hot take was going to be that of all Greta Gerwig's movies, I definitely like Barbie the least. I probably won't rewatch it.
Really?
Again?
Whoa.
Necessarily. I mean, like, not forever.
I knew we were big allies.
But, like, I'm gonna rewatch Lady Bird and Little Women, like, way fucking more than I'm gonna watch Barbie, just because those speak to me more, you know?
Okay, so we'll get into it more. We'll hold off. A few other things I want to shout out.
Hold on.
Okay, you go.
See, I'm going to rewind. Now my turn to talk about American Fiction really quickly. I liked it. No, I'm kidding.
Good.
I thought it was really, really good. I loved the soundtrack. Fucking hell, the music is fantastic.
I think that got a score nomination as well.
I think it did, and it deserves it. I thought the cinematography was really, really beautiful. I thought Jeffrey Wright is he's a fucking force of nature in that movie.
He's so good.
He's so good.
That shit was so funny.
I love that
my favorite grumpy guy performance of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I know. I love Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti's great.
But I love that it uses a literary metaphor for basically black cinema. Yeah. That's really what the movie's about, is black film and television. Actually, that's to extend that just to black content.
It does become about that.
Yeah, it critiques black cinema, but not the creators of it, but more of the machine that mangles it and kind of basically the white machine that picks what is good and what is popular, and also the fact I love too that this was what I thought was crazy, almost like Inception-like about the movie, is that the trailer for the film really sells itself as like a biting, like black satire comedy kind of, which it is, but then you watch it and it's such a calm, it's contemplative,
largely
sophisticated.
It's just a piece about a man and his family.
Yeah, a lot of it is a family dramedy. No, I also found that really impressive about how that movie was marketed.
Which was why I really liked that whole thing about how he talks very specifically about how that's not what anybody wants to see, and yet that is what we've gotten to see the whole time. I was like, it really, pushes forth the point.
I love the poetic irony of the fact that the movie is far more sophisticated and
nuanced and character-based,
and multidimensional than the trailer would have you believe, which is kind of the whole fucking point of the movie in the comment that it's making. That's brilliant. And one more thing, talking about Barbie and American fiction, comedies getting some respect from the Academy this year.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Also, Issa Rae, this fucking girl out here just being in 3 Academy-nominated movies in 1 year. Yeah, my girl. You know what? Actually, when we said, like, who were our MVPs of last year, we should have fucking said Issa Rae.
I brought her up.
My girl was Madam President. She was in the Spider-Man movie.
I will not accept this slander.
Yeah.
I brought up Issa Rae.
Oh, my bad, Zach. You know
I did it. Nobody's getting me on that. I'm an ally. But
you know what, Zach, of all the I actually discussed this with somebody. I said I should get Zach a plaque that says my favorite white boy. Because somehow
really?
You've made it.
He usurped
of the month.
He usurped me? You prefer him over me. I'm way whiter than he is.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. And I'm older. I'm a white,
that
heterosexual male. I'm entitled to this prize.
The fact that I've been nominated for this prestigious award means that it's about 3 weeks until my whole world comes crashing down and I say something real offensive. That's just the way of the white man.
Ooh,
that's how we work. That's how we're fucking hardwired. So I'm gonna fucking mind my P's and Q's and try to shut the fuck up a little more. These are dangerous waters I'm treading in.
I'm all, can you?
No. Okay, but real quick, the other few nominations that I was like, fuck yeah, about were The Creator getting some recognition in Best Sound
Music.
and Visual Effects.
Yeah.
As well as Mission Impossible, which is a series which has never been nominated for an Academy Award. Picking up 2 nominations for Dead Reckoning, also in Sound and VFX. And The Creator.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Or wait, I already mentioned The Creator. No, the other one I wanted to bring up, Godzilla -1.
Yeah, for VFX. Yeah, that's pretty dope.
Yes. Did you see the video of some of the people in Japan like getting really excited, like some of the people who worked on it, like
I didn't.
Seeing the nomination in the morning
post
and then
that,
setting off their little streamers and shit.
That's fucking awesome. We should post that.
It's cute. Oh, I'll send it to you. I'll find it again on TikTok or something. By the way, I kind of want to see Oppenheimer win for editing, to be honest.
I agree.
What are the other editing nominees? I feel like
Anatomy
we're doing
of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. Those are all great picks, but I agree, Alexis. I think Oppenheimer should take that.
Yeah.
I think...
You try making a 3-hour movie feel like that.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah. There's a lot of things about Oppenheimer that could have been really boring if it weren't for all the intercuts.
Yeah. That is a really, really
There is a lot about that movie that you can thank for it not being boring, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yes. The other movie that I saw, though, I did also see another new release.
Oh, what'd you see?
I saw All of Us Strangers, guys. The gay movie that I had been waiting my whole last year to fucking drop. And let me tell you, that was not what I expected.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
It was good. But I walked out of that theater and I was like, ooh, I feel a little, feel not necessarily icky, but I feel dark and dreary in places. I was really hoping that'd be a happy gay movie.
You thought that was going to be a happy gay movie?
Surprise, surprise! It was a sad gay movie.
Yeah.
It did look like it was going to have like an uplifting element to it.
Interesting. I didn't get that from the
did.
trailer. I'm
know,
expecting sadness from that.
Like, I was expecting sadness, but I was expecting like an uplifting, like kind of ending and stuff, right? But to be honest, it had some real things to say. One of my favorite things is like how life changes just from decisions made in the moment or from little decisions, and then they spur on like bigger shit, Those are always my favorite kind of things, where it's like and then you get to reflect back on like whether or not, I don't know, whatever. You should definitely go see it. There's a lot of good color in it. It's way more unnerving than I expected it to be. Like, there's this point where he starts doing ketamine, and I literally like turned to my sister and said, girl, it's all downhill from here. And it was. And there was so much play with like the reality of the world that the character lived in, that even I was starting to get like not confused about what was going on, but like thrown for a loop of like what was the actual reality that he was in. And so I would definitely say to go see it. I think it's worth a watch. But it will make you feel a little icky. There was even this moment where like some light died in somebody's eyes, and I was like, oh, I don't like that. That gave me the ickiest feeling. It was giving like the fucking Polar Express, there's no light in their eyes moment,
Oh, cool.
Did not like that.
Hey, did we hear did we hear that there's a sequel being developed to the Polar Express?
Nope. Move on. I tried to watch All of Us Strangers Sunday night, but I couldn't get to the cinema in time. I didn't wrap soon enough. Which is sad. But yeah, I'm really excited to see it. It's top of my list. But also at top of my list now
Paul
is
Mescal's
Naiad and
Rustin.
Rustin.
One I gotta see.
Those are the three ones I got to see. But really quickly, I want to amend my list of best of 2023.
Whoa!
Just by virtue of having seen so many more movies now.
Okay.
Here's the new list. Okay, starting at number 1. I hate to say it, Oppenheimer. Number 2, John Wick Chapter 2. That's unchanged. Actually, the top 4.
Well, it's Chapter 4.
Yes, that's right. John Wick Chapter 4. Sorry. Top 4 haven't changed. That's Past Lives number 3, Closest number 4. Poor Things comes in at number 5 now.
Yeah, that's where I have Poor Things as well.
That shot way up to number 5, which Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2 remains at number 6.
Fuck yeah.
Which puts Saltburn down to number 7. It was originally number 5.
We're like number 37.
Oof. Killers of the Flower Moon at number 8. Society of the Snow is in top 10 at number 9. Which, yeah.
Woo!
And my sci-fi pick of number 10 of the creator got pushed out by Godzilla -1 being at number 10. Yeah. Yeah. And then my honorable mentions from 11
I went and
to...
saw that again with my nephew. That shit's so fire.
Fuck yeah.
My honorable mentions from 11 to 16 are now The Holdovers, The Creator, Blackberry, American Fiction, The Zone of Interest, and finally, Sanctuary. That's definitive, folks.
Definitive. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you heard it here a few weeks ago, but you heard it amended here first.
Yes, exactly. Had I actually been in the States and not stricken with COVID, that probably would have been my list.
There you
at
go.
the top of the month. So there you go,
well,
folks.
That's why you keep listing,
well, somebody
everybody.
had to be the resident Tiny Tim this winter,
That's right.
and
It was
it
my
wasn't
turn.
me. So,
real quick, not new movies, but I also ended up seeing when I was on my little writer's retreat, I watched the Poughkeepsie tapes, which is an extremely fucking disturbing. I wouldn't call it a mockumentary. It's a faux documentary about a serial killer.
Right.
It's really, really unsettling. Not like necessarily incredibly graphic, but just like mean and bleak and
Bad vibes.
yeah, awful vibes. And I also watched Southland Tales.
I've seen my video rental store had a poster of that up ever since I was a kid.
Yeah,
and that had completely been stricken from the record that is Mick's mind until you and Drew posted reviews of it. And I was like, holy fuck, I remember that poster.
Yeah.
Sean William Scott, right?
Sean William Scott, The Rock, Sarah Michelle Gellar.
And it's a political thriller?
It is a bizarre sort of near future satire comedy political film commenting on the Bush era. It kind of feels like I guess if you were to make a Verhoeven movie like RoboCop in 2006, Southland Tales is what you might get. I'm not saying it's as good as RoboCop because it isn't, but it has that same
the Paul Verhoeven vibe.
Yeah, that satirical bite and perspective on America. Richard Kelly, who made Donnie Darko.
I love Donnie Darko.
Good movie. I rewatched it.
I love that movie. My friend Brooke introduced that to me. It's one of my favorite gifts that she ever gave me with Donnie Darko, even though I almost always fall asleep.
Yeah, no, it's
a movie that puts you to fucking sleep.
Yeah,
in a good way though.
I like Donnie Darko. I don't love it, but if you want a fucking wild time watching a movie, Southland Tales feels like it was beamed in from a different dimension.
Interesting.
It does not feel of this earth.
Weird.
So if you're into some weird shit, I highly recommend it. You got to allocate some time because it's a long movie.
That's it. I've always maintained that the director of Donnie Darko is like a one-hit wonder director.
I think that Southland Tales should have gotten him more work. It was like a radioactive bomb.
Huh. Okay.
But yeah, you like that? You like that little tee up for what we're doing?
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
But yeah, I think it's a really interesting movie, and we were talking about Bottoms last week as I mentioned that's the kind of movie that I want to see as someone's sophomore film where you increase in ambition, and Southland Tales is absolutely an increase in ambition, and I think it works more than it doesn't.
Nice.
And a real performance from The Rock, which I feel like we haven't really gotten since Pain and Gain.
And now you have to pay him for saying that. You're gonna have to bleep that because he just got the rights to The Rock. Dwayne The Rock Johnson now has trademark on that name. He didn't have that before, apparently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so now every time someone says The Rock, if you're in a,
Alcatraz movie?
If you're in an Alcatraz movie or you're in a geography class
There's
outside
no
and someone
way
goes,
that's the case.
look at The Rock
Look
over
at that
there.
The Rock.
You have to pay him money
No,
now.
you fucking
He's going to
don't.
pop behind The Rock.
Can you smell what I'm cooking? All right. Well, do we have anything else?
If you're going to lift a rock, be ready for the snake underneath.
Quick side note. I am 5 years late on this, or maybe only 4, but I finally finished Schitt's Creek, and I loved it. It was really good. It was wholesome. There was great character development. You should all watch that if you need a nice little comedy show to watch. I'm not really one for shows much.
That's great. That's great. Alexis, are we the TV majors here?
It's impressive that I actually finished it.
Fuck you.
Are we the TV majors on this show now?
Zach's being a dick.
Did I hear that we're the
No,
TV
but we're the film
fight.
majors, and whatever the fuck I say goes.
Oh, flexing. My parents, as I said, my parents listen to the show, and right now they're very happy because they love Schitt's Creek.
Great.
My parents, they love it.
Awesome. How about you go listen to all the other shows, Mick's parents? You want to
Yeah.
hear about Schitt's Creek?
Honestly,
antagonizing the people who are directly related to us.
So this message is just for Mick's parents then, but I loved Alexis's growth towards the end of the show. It was phenomenal, and thank you for being a supporter of Schitt's Creek.
Cool.
You're welcome, parents. She did that for you.
All right.
Actually, I want to say one more thing before we hop out of what's going on. Mark Ruffalo got a nomination.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I was very excited
I
about
was
that,
pretty conviensed that wasn't going to happen.
I was sure that was going to happen.
I was sure that was going to happen.
Well, it did. So fuck you. I was right.
That's a pretty good impression of Zach, right?
Yeah. Am I throwing my voice now? That's crazy. All right.
Yeah, well,
I would really like for Poor Things to win for production design over Napoleon,
I
but you know how much the
1000%
Academy loves their war movies for production design, apparently.
they do.
I think that's either going to be Poor Things or Barbie.
Have you seen Napoleon yet, Zach?
I have not. That's one of the big ones I missed.
Check it out, dude.
I do want to see it.
It's obviously it's not great.
The battle sequences are fucking bananas.
And I also think it's better than just the battle sequences.
I want to see him smack his lips when he wants to get laid.
Yes, I was going to say the comedy of it is.
I don't want to see.
Good. It's fucking Joaquin Phoenix, man. He's playing an emperor.
No, I don't want to see the Jackrabbit ever again.
No. All right. Well, on that note, let's hop out of what's going on.
All right, and cut the music, please. Cut the music.
Hello, we're back. It's our last episode.
Hi-ho.
It's our last episode of 2023 in review month.
That's right.
Oh boy, I'm sad to see it go. But you know, we're now into our big topic section, and guys, what are we talking about as our big topic?
Really quickly, in case we didn't say it, you're listening to NPR, National Public Radio.
National Public.
I guess I guess I can. I guess I can do a more normal. What's the NPR voice?
I don't know.
The NPR voice is where you talk really, really calmly into the microphone because of how liberal I am.
That's great. That's awesome.
I don't shout like the Republicans.
This is so good.
I'm such a Democrat. I don't even need to raise my voice.
Listen, if you're clicking on this episode because you saw the title,
we're finally here, guys.
This is what it's usually like. It will continue like this, and it does not get better. So if you're not on board with that,
this is really just further selling the point that all three of us probably have ADHD.
I'm not going to do that. Is that a squirrel over there?
Oh my god! So we had two ideas for big topics today. I was suggesting that we talk about some movies that made us hopeful about the future of the industry that came out last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, the two films we're talking about today were huge hits and really spoke to the power of good quality filmmaking and directors with strong visions. Mm-hmm. But one movie that made me very hopeful for the future of cinema that came out last year was No Hard Feelings. No Hard Feelings.
Yeah, dive into it.
That's so funny.
Made me so happy to see just a raunchy adult studio comedy that I think the key thing that I'm going to point out for it, as opposed to Bottoms and Joyride, which were both also fantastic, is that No Hard Feelings was a solid hit. And I feel like it's been quite a while, I would argue since Game Night, go back and listen to our episode on Game Night, that we've had like a solid comedy hit from a big studio that's come out and has kind of remained in the zeitgeist a little bit. Like, you know, anecdotally, Mick, you've talked about how you've hung out with people and been like, oh, what are we going to put on? No Hard Feelings. Yeah. Everybody likes that.
It's come up a few times. And every time I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I like that movie.
Yeah.
And a little behind the scenes, listeners, this was a serious contender for Zach's choice.
It was.
For Year in Review.
If Alexis had not picked Bottoms, I probably would have gone for No Hard Feelings. But, you know, variety is the spice of life. We can't always talk about raunchy comedies, no matter how much we might want to.
Correct.
So, Mick, Alexis, what made you guys hopeful about the future of cinema that came out last year?
Well, not to be a bit of a cheat, but I'm just going to do my pick that we already talked about, but The Creator. The Creator really, really did. I'm not going to go into it. Just listen to the episode. It made me very interested and hopeful for the future of sci-fi and the future of spectacle, big effects films from directors that have a singular vision, singular voice. In other words, isn't designed by committee and isn't there to push a product or an already established property and IP. I thought it just done so well. The fact that it was done for such little money, It was fantastic, and I really hope it breeds more films like that. I hope that process breeds more films from the studios to greenlight stuff like that. So I think that was really cool. What about you, Alexis?
Funny that Zach should bring up raunchy comedies because mine is absolutely Joyride.
Fuck yeah.
Good pick.
Yeah, I think I went and saw that movie, and there's something very special about a movie that can literally make you bust your gut and then fucking break your heart within the next 30 minutes, the next 10 to 15 minutes, to be honest, like there's a lot of highs and lows. And one of my favorite things after watching that movie was reading an article where like the writer director Adele Lim was talking about how when she first wrote it, she had kind of lovingly penned it the Joy Fuck Club.
Yeah.
After the Joy Luck Club, which I think I've talked about it before on the podcast in a previous episode, but I loved the Joy Luck Club growing up, and I read the book as well. And, I think it's kind of that thing with like American fiction where it's like, how many stories do we get that are really about the suffering and the like immigrant experience, but mainly the suffering and isolation that it is and has been. And when you get Joyride, you get some of that, isolation and like separation, but you also get the joy of, being with your 4 female fucking friends that are all also, Asian, and you're just fucking having a good fucking time, And so I kind of love that it was called the Joy Fuck Club. I don't know.
That's fun.
I really love the movie. It's just really nice that it's like, it's like an all female led cast, and they're so fucking hilarious. They're doing some really crazy shit, like with the massager gun.
We always come back to it.
We always come back to the massager gun.
It sticks in the mind.
Yeah, I'm like between that and Past Lives, I was just like, and Joyride, Past Lives really made me think of The Farewell, and just all of those female voices, like especially like people of color, getting their moment, and hopefully lots of moments to come to shine, and just the joy in being a woman or female identifying and being a fucking menace to society. That's what it is.
Yeah, I was going to say Joyride confirms suspicions that I've long held that women are far raunchier than
girls
men.
Are gross.
We can't
Girls are gross, dude.
We can't we cannot hold a candle.
Nasty.
We cannot hold a candle to how like debaucherous women can be, and I love that. And I think, Alexis, you're absolutely right. The fact that a female-led, Asian American-led or just Asian-led cast is penetrating the zeitgeist like that is so cool.
Hell yeah, they are penetrating it.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's really wonderful. Yeah. Good pick.
Fuck, I had a thought and then I promptly lost it.
Did you forget to take your medication today?
Oh my god, cut it out, dude. Go get fucking analyzed.
Come with me to the laboratory, young man. I shall give you strudel.
Okay.
Oh wait, no. It was gonna be this, that I firmly believe that men are gross, but women are nasty. And one of my favorite things that people have ever said about me is that you're a nasty woman. And I just live for it.
Yeah,
like,
you're
every
like
time somebody's
Hillary
ever said that,
Clinton.
my mom, my boss, love it. I love to hear it.
Nice.
Nothing.
We're gonna skate over that one. A movie that honestly gives me reserved hope for the future of cinema, even though it's kind of coming to a close, is John Wick Chapter 4.
Yeah.
It's like I finally feel like, Alexis, just hang in there, all right? Have you even seen it?
I will.
Listen,
No, I haven't seen any of them.
I showed Jacorn Bean all of the John Wick sequels.
What'd they think?
They were like, it rules because
Yeah, it's fucking
it
great.
rules.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Alexis,
Okay,
you have to
here's
remember
the
we
thing.
have good taste.
Okay, here's the thing is that like literally on New Year's, I was walking back to the motel with Vanessa and my sister, and I was like, da-da-da-da, and then I said something about like John Wick being on one of your guys' like top 5, and then Vanessa was like, well, that movie is actually really good. That whole franchise is actually just really good. And I was like, I know it is, but I can't let them have this, okay?
Why not?
I have to stand my ground somewhere.
But yes, John Wick Chapter 4, to me, kind of confirms that people have finally fucking figured out action again. Like, with Mission Impossible, with Mad Max, you know, we went through this action is like horror. It's an exploitation genre, right? And we went through a bad period from the 2000s where it just was half-assed. And I just
gotta put your full fucking ass in there.
Yeah, I find it very exciting that, you know, we've been going through a horror renaissance, and I'd like to think we're going through an action renaissance. It's not. I think it's harder to accomplish, which is why we're getting less of it. But John Wick Chapter 4 is genuinely a modern. I was going to say horror, a modern action masterpiece.
Yeah,
I mean, in every sense of the word. If you appreciate the genre, then you have to see it. I mean, it is a must watch. And then also, these are, let's see, am I going to, how many? 3. No, 2. I'm going to list 2 of them because the third one we're going to talk about in a bit. But 2 movies that also give me hope for the future of filmmaking, because mainly it just keeps the tradition of miniatures going, is Poor Things and Asteroid City.
Yeah.
These are modern films that contain miniatures. They use 2D sets way in the background. They use painted sets and everything in the back, and it looks fucking exquisite. It looks like a goddamn painting, and I know that sounds cliche, but it's absolutely true. The craftsmanship that I sometimes fear is going away is, I think people are going to be nostalgic for it enough, just like what has happened with like vinyl, where we want it the old fashioned way, and because it fucking works and it's fucking quality.
Sets.
It's really great. So yeah, the miniature work with the trains in Asteroid City and the set that they built in the desert in Spain, so good. The shots of London in the background,
Prague as well, I think.
Yeah, when she's up on the roof, that's all just miniature buildings and little lights and stuff inside. I think that's absolutely exquisite. That's the kind of shit that I love about movies. So yeah, I would say those are my picks.
Alexis, anything else?
No, Mick just reminded me that I still need to see Asteroid City.
Good movie. Good,
yeah.
Very near. I think that may have been in my. Yeah, that was in my honorable mentions.
It was in mine, but got pushed out.
That was my number 12.
It's at my number 18 right now. Behind Napoleon.
Well, there you have.
In between May, December, and Napoleon.
Fascinating.
And Emily's there. Look at all these movies.
Look at all those movies you watch. Good job, buddy. Well, Mick has been talking about.
Mick has been talking.
Mick has
Let's move out of that. That's enough
Mick
of that.
has been talking and he needs to stop.
Alexis, do you have any other picks of movies from 2023?
What'd she say? Asked her. She said no.
Did she?
God damn it! I'm gonna.
Yeah. Well, technically, yeah. I guess like Past Lives, and I don't know. I guess I don't know. Yeah, I think to be honest, Joyride was kind of my big pick. Past Lives, good pick. I mean, I don't really even want to bring up fucking Oppenheimer because, you know, sometimes I'm kind of actually mad at how good Christopher Nolan is.
Well, you brought it up. You brought it up.
Upsetty spaghetti about it.
And now we're getting into it. We're doing a double feature today. And we are talking about Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, which stars Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., and every other white guy. And Barbie, which stars Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling and is directed by the incomparable Greta Gerwig. So, where would we like to start?
I would like to start, if I may, with my other topic idea, because typically when we do a double episode, if you're a loyal listener, you'll know that we'll start with one, we'll cover that, and then we'll move on to the next one. But I want to start with just a little topic that combines both of them. We're going to talk about both movies for a second. So something that I find quite exciting about Barbenheimer Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Which is the title of this episode.
Yes, it was released the same day. Don't ask me what day that was. I don't remember, but they both dropped on the same day.
July 21st.
July 21st,
July
2023 was a big date.
Close.
And I remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but when it was announced that Oppenheimer and Barbie were going to share a release date, a lot of industry types and fans of their respective camps, your Greta Gerwig camp, your Barbie camp, and then your Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan camp, which we know can be about as insufferable as they come when it comes to the internet world.
Yeah.
We're very worried.
See, that's unfair. Why can't we be both?
Well, that's the whole fucking point.
Turns out we fucking can.
Just like the GIF that I sent. So my topic that I kind of wanted to talk about is how the sphere of the internet and how it has affected films, because I think it is a remarkable occurrence that happened over the course of the spring into summer of 2023, where it was like an advertiser's fantasy what happened, because it had, Barbenheimer is arguably one of the best advertising campaigns to come out in living memory that was not paid for by either fucking studio.
Yep.
Not a dime. It was no one's idea from either studio. It just became its own thing on the internet that snowballed from a meme. And then before you know it, the meme was everywhere. And before you knew it, I remember the New York Times, the Washington Post was posting about Barbenheimer. It actually was getting articles about how this is becoming a pop cultural movement. And it became to the point where it became a plan. It became a brunch plan where, what movie are you going to watch first? Let's watch both. Let's dress up. You would dress up in pink you dress up in black. It became an event.
If you were someone who wanted to see one more than the other, you still felt like you had to see both to be part of the conversation. I mean, I wanted to see both, but I want to see most things.
Yes.
The fact that, like, my girlfriend's friend, who is, like, not hugely a movie guy, he was like, oh, yeah, no, he was down for Barbenheimer, even though, you know, he wasn't, like, particularly excited to go see Oppenheimer. But, like, you know, it was a cultural moment, and it was born from people being excited to not see a Barbie movie or see an Oppenheimer movie. There were people excited to see Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer and to see Greta Gerwig's Barbie. Like,
it was artist led.
Yeah. And it's something that, like,
it's rare, man.
I don't think I'm sure studios will try to replicate this, and I don't think they're ever going to be able to, because the lesson from this is not, release two movies on the same day and try to market a double feature.
Which will be the lesson they're going to take from it.
Absolutely.
You know that's
the lesson
be the case.
is let great filmmakers put their voice on big movies. Yeah. Because that's what led Barbie to $1.5 billion, and that's what led Oppenheimer, a fucking 3-hour World War II drama whose third act is largely in a shitty little room.
Yeah.
To basically $1 billion.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, we all dressed up for it, right?
I did.
Alexis,
fuck yeah, I did.
Hell
Did we all see both on the same day?
I didn't. I spread them out over a couple days, unfortunately.
Oh, so I was the only one who actually hit the Barbenheimer double feature.
Yes, I didn't do the Barbenheimer double feature until this episode. I actually did it the same day.
Oh, wow.
Because I wanted to experience it. And I don't know about you, but I think the correct way to do it is in the name. Start with Barbie and finish with Heimer.
I agree. It's not how I did it in the theater.
Yeah, but I'm glad I watched Barbie first and then Oppenheimer, because I think that should be how it goes, which works. So this is called Barbenheimer. It works. But yeah, I
went and saw it. They were doing a reissue in IMAX over here, so I saw it in IMAX.
We all went and saw a re-release of Oppenheimer in IMAX.
Yeah. Wait, I'm so sorry.
Wow.
Okay, finish your thought, and then
I was just saying, I didn't see it in IMAX the first time. The IMAX screenings were sold out, so or they weren't sold out, but I would have had to get really shitty seats.
Yeah.
So I ended up seeing it just in 70 millimeter. So I was super glad that this re-release came out at the perfect time. It's almost like someone really planned this episode really well and deserves props and credit, and for you to kiss his ring.
Or was it serendipity?
Kiss the ring.
No,
kiss
I'm
it.
not gonna kiss
Kiss
it.
it. Give me a little kiss.
It's not a finger ring,
Come on.
listeners.
It's just a finger.
So
I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
I've seen it 3 times, Oppenheimer. I saw it the first time on 70 millimeter, and then the second time on IMAX, and then I saw it yesterday on IMAX. And what's great is, Zach and I and Alexa, she used to live in Los Angeles. We live in Los Angeles where Universal Studios has an IMAX theater that has an actual projector, a film projector. So when you watch an IMAX movie, it's not a digital reprint or scan. It's not a digital scan, of IMAX film and projected on a really good IMAX digital projector. It is projected through a film projector. And I don't know about you, but when I watched it the other night, you're getting the grain in there.
Yes.
And knowing that they shot it on IMAX and all of the VFX, as it were, is done practically in frame, and then they process it by putting it in chemicals, and then they process the film, and then they took the film, they brought it to Universal Studios, and they put it in front of a light bulb, and they projected it onto the screen. Nothing was digital about that. It went from real life through a chemical process to a light shining through, and we saw it in a dark theater, and I thought that was just so cool. One of the reasons I love living in the cities, because we get that opportunity of seeing that kind of stuff. Really, really cool. But anyways, the zone of influence that the internet had on this was absolutely incredible, and I thought it was just really, really cool that it culminated in a summer where, if you recall, you had pictures of Christopher Nolan. You had pictures of Greta Gerwig posing in front of a cinema.
I don't think Christopher Nolan did it.
Did he not?
No, it was Tom Cruise and
that's
McQuarrie.
Right. It was McQuarrie.
Which that was regrettably the casualty of Barbenheimer.
Yes, was Mission
Impossible
Impossible.
underperformed. But
they were posing with tickets of a different movie that they weren't promoting.
Yes, you think that Christopher Nolan took a picture because I edited a picture which I sent to you of Christopher Nolan and Cillian Murphy holding tickets to No Hard Feelings.
That's right.
Because that is the funniest movie I can picture both of them seeing.
Shit, that's
and
right.
I guarantee you, Christopher Nolan, notoriously a guy who sees every single movie. He's like Tom Cruise in that way.
Yes. Yes.
I bet he saw No Hard Feelings.
I'm sure he did.
And, as a certified MacGruber fan, I bet he liked it.
I'm sure he did. But that was a special moment in the summer of 20. That's why that was a special year for film, was because you had all these famous, actors, directors, artists that were celebrating movies. That was it really felt like 2023 was the year that they finally healed, as in the theaters and the theater going experience healed from COVID.
Yeah.
It really felt like the bandage had finally been released, and you look down and like, oh my God, there's no scar. It was it felt like a moment, because also, if you recall, I think it was during the Oppenheimer episode, or when that came out, we did an episode and I was talking about how in front of, it was either Oppenheimer or Mission Impossible, all of the trailers were for artist-led genre pictures.
Yeah.
Nothing was Marvel.
And then
nothing was Star Wars.
One of them got fucking canceled or postponed because of the fucking goddamn fucking producers screwing over everybody.
Yes.
Fucking Dune, where is it? Where's Dune?
In terms of movie going, I remember it really feeling like a shift had happened, where it felt like
the movies were back.
They were back. It felt like they were really healing. And then one last sidebar I'm going to give. Alexis, you saw an IMAX, right? Oppenheimer a few days ago?
Yeah, I saw it on Monday. Yeah, I saw it on Monday by myself.
Did they play the new Dune trailer in front of it?
That's an excellent question. I often get to the theater too late to see some of the commercials, and thank God, because I've seen some of the same commercials 50 fucking times now.
Yeah, if I see one more trailer for Argyle, I'm going to shit myself. I swear
That
to God.
is what I was saying at American
caught
Fiction
in a
yesterday.
I can't break out.
I'm so over it.
It's an
Boom, boom,
extra.
boom, boom.
It's an extra little kick in the
Because
balls to
I love
me
you
that it
too
has an
much,
Elvis song in it
baby.
because Elvis continues to
Dua
fucking
Lipa
haunt my
looks
life.
so good, though.
I'm such a
Oh
fan.
my god!
I love that
Okay,
book.
Speaking of Dua Lipa, shall we go movie by movie now? Because we've talked a bit about the experience, and I'd like to actually get
Yes,
into
let's get into the movies.
meat of the films. And if we're all right with it, I would like to start with Barbie.
Okay, yes. I think it is important to note how I think, you know, how like the I'm Just Ken song won at the, you know, Critics' Choice Award and the fucking just
Golden
like
Globes as well.
the look of stun on
That was the
Ryan
Golden
Gosling's
Globes, yeah.
face. And just the fact that he's in like the nomination category for Best Actor. I mean, like I personally think like kind of when I rewatched it, I was like, honestly, valid. He really put his whole Kenosee into this shit, you know?
We're gonna have a whole fucking Gosling corner when we start talking about the movie.
Yeah.
But the thing is that Barbie really set off this fucking like cultural zeitgeist for a moment, like in our history, like absolutely. Like I mean, Oppenheimer, like yeah, like structurally, like integrally, like really fucking good. But Barbie just had this like huge impact. The SNL skit, like all these things that just kind of really snowballed it into this bigger than life thing, you know, even bigger than what it was, you know, already. So I just wanted to snowball on top of what you were saying, Mickey.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. You don't see people wearing hoodies that say "Top my Sloppenheimer," but you do see
Slop
them.
on my oppie.
You don't see, but you do see them wearing hoodies that say "I am Knuff."
Yeah,
Which is-
and it's because
Props to you,
Ryan
Greta
Gosling
Gerwig.
did a new performance, and so a new personality has dropped for guys.
Yes,
But
exactly.
Barbie, Greta Gerwig's Barbie. Barbie and Ken are having the time of their lives in the colorful and seemingly perfect world of Barbie Land. However, when they get a chance to go to the real world, they soon discover the joys and perils of living among humans. Solid description.
Yeah.
Doesn't give away essentially the third act of the film.
Yeah.
So we all saw this in theaters. Initial thoughts. How do we feel about Barbie?
I'm gonna be totally honest. When I saw Barbie the first time, I was not super into it. I felt like it was kind of second wavy feminist, but maybe about like a week ago, I saw this video on TikTok that I did also send to Megan, who has been a guest on our show. Sent it to her on TikTok,
and you sent it to me
like,
as well, and it actually made me change my mind about Barbie a little bit.
Oh, interesting. Well, do tell.
Yeah. So basically, the woman in the video, I think her name was like Noemi or something like that, was saying that, you know, when she first saw it, you know, she got about halfway into the movie and she was like let down because, you know, she was like, oh, I thought this movie was going to be like for the feminists, you know, for the girls that already know all of this stuff. But she realized, getting towards like I guess like the 2/3 of the way through moment where like America Ferrera is having her monologue, and she looks over at her friend, and her friend is just like crying, like bawling her eyes out a little bit. And she realized like in that moment that, oh, this movie isn't for me. This movie is for all the women, all the people who have never heard this before, you know, and that it's okay if it's not for me, you know, that this is a space for other people to hear these things for the first time. And that she even reflected back on like, you know, when she was like 12 years old on like Tumblr or Pinterest or something, and she like read feminist like things for the first time and how that made her feel, and like the introspection that happened at that time and like how emotional it made her feel. And she realized that like, just because this wasn't for her didn't mean it wasn't like a feminist moment, and that it wasn't a really good moment for women, you know, like, and I was like, that's so valid, because I really was like, oh, I'm not really that into this because I feel like it's not saying enough about women, and like, this isn't my story. But my sister was tearing up at the speech, and she felt really seen by it. So for me, even though I didn't like it, I was like, well, I'm glad that you liked it, because like that is something that you should hear. Those are conversations that I often have with my sister about how like, how it is being a mother, and that it's, you're always the fucking, because you take time for yourself, you're seen as being selfish, and it's really fucking unfair. We have those kind of conversations all the time, but it's so nice to see that just in like one single monologue in a movie. So I didn't love the movie, but I feel like that video changed my mind about how I viewed it in general.
I think that's an important point too, because I think something that, again, another past guest, Drew, brought up, because we watched this movie together, is the America Ferrera monologue, to me, feels like kind of a less polished version of a similar monologue delivered by Saoirse Ronan in Little Women, where she kind of talks about the contradictions of being a woman.
Yeah.
And listen, in my opinion, Little Women, Greta Gerwig's best film. That movie
agree.
Fucking rules.
I think we're all in agreement on that.
We got to talk about it sometime.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Little
You're
Women.
welcome.
Thank you for reintroducing me to it and showing me the error of my ways for not putting that in like my top of 2019, because that movie whips. But I think that it is important to have that monologue in a big studio movie to, expose, like young women and girls to something that makes them feel seen and gets them thinking about these things. Like, the Barbie movie does not need to be a deeply complex examination of feminism, because it's the fucking Barbie movie. The fact that that is there at all is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm going to jump off of that. Actually, we're all in agreement on this. Alexis, what you're saying is very similar to how I felt when I first saw it. I thought it was a little surface level. I thought this was going to be like this female empowerment, movie event of the year.
But instead it is a male Ken-powerment film.
Exactly. But it felt very surface level with its feminism. And I think that's why I think when I first watched it, it felt a little shallow. But what you're touching on, Zach, is absolutely true, where, Barbie is for kids, right? And so you have to start at a sort of rudimentary feminism level to introduce them to these concepts and to kind of bring it down to those basic foundational essentials, where you have to not be too sophisticated. You have to be bold in it. You have to deliver a speech like America Ferrera gives, which I think is an exquisite monologue, even if it's, not exactly poetry, but it fucking drives the point home, and it should, because there's going to be little kids, little boys that are going to watch this, because Greta Gerwig talked about how she made a mini film to pitch to Warner Brothers during their big Zoom meeting with like 20 different executives, and they wanted to talk about a PowerPoint and have her do a speech. And instead, she made this little movie that she had created and showed it to her son, who was like 4 years old. And he was like, he had no interest in Barbies and thought, and he asked,
different 4-year-old than me.
I
loved my Barbies when I was 3, 4.
She asked him, "Are you into this?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think that's great. I would watch that." Right. And what's also amazing is that Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig are two is a power couple of intellectualism. And the fact that they both wrote this script, I am very impressed that they were able to boil this down to such, as I said, rudimentary levels that they're way more above that. But for them to bring it down to that and make it so efficient and clean and essential, I'm very impressed with.
You know who really likes the monologue in this movie? James Cameron.
Oh, really?
Which,
interesting.
Yeah, so I have to give Variety some props because they do that Directors on Directors series. And I'm very glad that they paired Greta Gerwig up with James Cameron, because I think that is an acknowledgement that she is someone who is now operating in the blockbuster auteur space. But I do think that monologue initially I was like, what? James Cameron, why him? And like, why does he love this so much? And then I was like, this actually feels so in line with his sort of filmmaking ethos because
he loves powerful women.
He does, but he also loves to drive the point home in a way that often feels a little bit clunky, but you get where his characters are fucking coming from and you get what the message is.
But in saying that, it made me think immediately of Titanic in the part where there's the moment that she needs to choose between the life that she has been prepared for her whole life and then Jack, but basically just choosing freedom over that life that she's been prepared for. And Jack literally has this monologue about like, there's a light in you, there's a fire in you, and I can see that fire is going to burn out, you know, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually it's going to go out, you know? And I think but okay. I really, okay, no, you know what? Never mind. Zach, go on.
Oh, well, that was really my only point about James Cameron, but I would love to talk about...
It's a great pair.
You know, it was a great chat. I highly recommend you watch that.
Alexis, go.
So I do actually think that it's not really that shallow of a representation of feminism in that it is it's just a simple look at womanhood, you know, and I guess in order for it to like it is really simple, I think, but I do love that the movie ends with her choosing to be human and therefore choosing to be imperfect, you know, because she has the option to go back to how things were, but she chooses to create a new life for herself, and to choose to be uncomfortable for the rest of her life and to choose for her own life to like end eventually, but to make that choice for herself. And I think that kind of, even if like the concept of the feminism and stuff is like, you know, kind of surface level, I think that is possibly one of the most feminist ideas, is just taking your own life into your own hands and making those choices for yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I think this movie ends really strongly. On 2 watches now, I think that I really enjoy the opening of Barbie in Barbie Land, when you kind of get the lay of the land and get her starting to have her existential crisis. I think Margot Robbie does because I'm going to talk about another performance in this movie for a really long time, so I have to give some props to the woman who plays the title character. I think Margot Robbie does a fucking phenomenal job selling the notion that she has never felt discomfort before. Like, she does just have this really dorky openness that you like start to see fade away throughout the movie. And I think those like initial hints of her being like, something's wrong, something's never been wrong, what is something being wrong? Like, I think she plays that really well, even like in her reactions, like when her and Ken are roller skating through Santa Monica and she's being catcalled. Her expressions there really sell that. And I think the ending of this movie is fucking great. When they go back to Barbie Land, all of that stuff is awesome. There's a dip in the middle for me in the Mattel stuff and in some of Margot Robbie's stuff where she's first meeting America Ferrera that doesn't quite click for me. And I think some of that's where I'm least impressed with the filmmaking. The car chase in this movie, I really don't like. I think it looks like a car commercial.
It kind of looks like a car commercial.
I said it.
Yes.
In my initial review, I said this looks like a General Motors car commercial because it's nothing but it's the new Hummer, it's the new Chevy EV. It's a fucking something you'd see at the Super Bowl.
It's not shot.
To be fair,
sorry, go ahead.
To be fair, that's car chases have never been in Greta Gerwig's wheelhouse, not as an actress nor as a director. Like, all of her all of her films have been family dramas, usually in like enclosed spaces for the most part. So it's good to see her venture out of that. But yeah, that was not a strong car chase.
I would like to see her take another crack at it and shoot something that looks a little bit less.
I do kind of enjoy that it's not a strong car chase because it's literally just a mom.
I mean, it reminds me. It reminds me a lot of Transformers, which is something I mentioned last year, where it's you have Hasbro and this toy product of Transformers, and then you have Mattel, this toy product of Barbie, combining that with General Motors, and you have this big corporate, orgy of products, which doesn't really, sit well. And the funny thing is, I think the car chase, I bet that's second unit. Because I don't think Greta Gerwig directed it, and I don't think the DP shot it, because the DP is Rodrigo Prieto, who did Barbie and Killers of a Flower Moon.
Hey, good year for him.
He did 2 movies last year, which is absolutely incredible, and it just looks so... It just looks so second unit.
Well, even the stuff in the car, which I doubt is second unit because you've got your lead actors. I mean, the exteriors. But I think the interiors don't look very good either.
I think all the exterior shit.
I don't like how that sequence is shot.
Yeah,
but generally, I fucking love how this movie looks. We've already talked about the beautiful sets.
Yeah,
the
really quickly though.
Shortage.
I want to go back to what you were talking about, Margot Robbie, and how she does deserve props. I heard Greta Gerwig saying how impressed she was with Margot Robbie in the scene in the very beginning of the film where she's dancing and then mentions, does anyone ever think about death?
You ever think about death?
Yeah. And how this whole idea that her and Noah Baumbach tried to put into the script of basically Barbie has no individuality at all, not only with her fellow Barbies, and even Ken's, Alan, but with her environment. Her environment and her are completely singular. They are all one. And in that moment, there's a fracture, which is what they talk about later with like Kate McKinnon's talking about it. There's a fracture that happens where she has this existential crisis of realizing that she is completely separated for the first time in her entire existence from herself being her entire environment and the entire collective. And Margot Robbie has to sell this with her face. And Greta Gerwig was like, she absolutely nailed it. Just the look of her in the eyes of utter fear while continuing to try to dance with everyone. And I agree. I think Margot Robbie is so fucking exceptional. Not to mention the least of which the fact that she's a producer. She was boss bitch producer on this thing.
Yeah, she was the one who brought it to Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
Yeah, lucky chaps. And she didn't even think that she was good for Barbie, and Greta was like, no. I think it has to be.
Yeah, look in a mirror, Margot.
Yeah, I love it when the inventor, the creator of Barbie is like, no one looks like Barbie. And I'm like, well, except for Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
It's the one person.
Yeah, I love the part in the movie where she's like, I'm not beautiful. And then the narrator's like, just as a side note, for the, producers and directors of Barbie, Margot Robbie is not the right person to put in this role for this statement.
Yeah.
Helen Mirren.
Yeah. Helen Mirren. Yeah. So Kate McKinnon, I really love in this movie. I think she's so funny. Honestly,
God, so
if you were going to pick a supporting actress performance for me, if you were like, you have to nominate a supporting actress from Barbie, I think she's so fucking good in this movie. Her line,
she's fucking
I'm
hilarious.
in the splits, I have a funky haircut, and I smell like basement. And
or you can end up being like me.
I love that America Ferrera says like right
that.
after that, because she's like, you make them weird by playing with them too hard, and I'm like, I know.
Yeah. Also, her line when she's sending Barbie out on her quest into the real world, when she's talking about Ryan Gosling's Ken. I'd like to see what kind of nude blob he's packing under those jeans. Fucking slayed me dead. This movie has a lot of great laugh lines.
It really does.
But
I really liked Emma Mackey. She's really good in this too.
yeah,
She was so good. And what is his name? Let me look him up.
The
But
guy
he
who
also
works at
plays
Mattel.
with her in
Shooty something. The guy who's in Sex Education.
Yeah, he plays the bully.
Yes.
That's such a good show.
Fuck, what is it? I'm gonna
I know his
last
first name is pronounced Shooty. I'm not gonna butcher his last name here.
Shooty. Okay, yeah. Shooty. I love that. I also love that, like, they get to have a little hug moment towards the end, and I'm like, oh, that must have felt so good, like, being on set of, like, a different movie when you do, like, a TV show together, you know?
Yeah, his whole comment of, I don't even care about being Ken, I just want to see my friend Barbie! He's really funny.
Okay, well, there's this one moment where, like, Ken is tossing Barbie's clothes out of her dream house, and, you know, they're, like, all collector's items and stuff, and then one of them is these Paisley Palazzo pants or something like that, and she goes, not the Palazzo pants! And I don't know why, but that shit made me laugh so hard.
So, you've invoked him.
Yes.
Can you feel the Kenergy?
Yeah.
Feels so
Can I just say that dance number is incredible? Like, I remember watching it the first time and thinking, oh, this is absolutely my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah,
and then I watched it the second time and I'm like, yep, this is still my favorite part of the movie.
I'm going to give a hot take here. Out of anyone that deserves a nomination for Barbie, it's Ryan Gosling.
I hate to be the dude. I hate to be the dude.
I know how that sounds.
Listen, there's been a lot of takes online in the past day or so about, oh, you nominated the guy from Barbie. Well, Gosling kind of steals the movie. I hate to say it. Ryan Gosling is fucking transcendent in this movie. If I was not of the opinion that Charles Melton is my favorite supporting actor performance of the year, strong number 2, The Gauze. Every single fucking shot of him is hysterically funny, and he plays it so committed. He is in 1,000% as Ken.
Did you know what his wife said to him?
No.
Before he started filming? Okay, so obviously he's married to Eva Mendes, and I just love that he's just, like, so in love with her and has been for, like, forever. So he got the script, he got the part, and he, like, he was telling her, like, I don't know how I'm gonna play this. Like, how am I supposed to play fucking Ken, you know? And she was like, and Ava was like, actually, all you need to do is just get her attention. That's all you need to do at all times. Is just get her attention. Nice. And so that he was like, and that really ironed out exactly what I was going to do the whole time. And he said that, like, every day that he came to set, he would just do more and more and more to try to get Margot's attention, like in the scene or whatever. And it all came from fucking Ava, you know? So I love that little side note.
My favorite bit is, I'm going to play my guitar at you now. So good.
From the bit where he starts playing, I wanna push you around. I will. From that to the spectacular I'm Just Ken number is probably my favorite stretch of the movie. It's
incredible.
A laugh a fucking second.
I went bananas over the fucking guitar scene, and I laughed so fucking loud in the theaters the first time I saw that, because that was the moment in the movie where I 100% felt seen, and I was like, Greta, you fucking nailed it on the goddamn head. I don't know if you guys have ever been serenaded by some dude with a guitar, but I have multiple times, and it is uncomfortable.
Have you seen Animal House?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
There's a scene in Animal House where there is a guy playing guitar on the stairs at this girl, and John Belushi walks down the stairs, grabs his guitar by the neck, just smashes it repeatedly against the wall, hands it back to the guy, and goes, "Sorry, man," and then just leaves. And I am so glad that Greta Gerwig is continuing the fine cinematic tradition of ridiculing the guitar guy.
Of John Belushi.
Because that is one of the worst types of guy there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, his delivery in that guitar scene when Margot starts texting the other Ken, and he goes, "Who are you texting? Who are you texting?" Grabs the phone from her. Ken! Like,
So good.
line read of the year, baby. It's so good. He's so good.
No. My favorite is the part where I think you brought this up earlier, but when I found out that patriarchy wasn't about the horses, I just sort of lost interest. Like, that kills me. It kills me
I love it.
so much. I
love it when he's in, when he crossed over to the real world and he's in Century City. And he's looking at the CEOs and he's like mimicking them where this, poor secretary tries to get the attention of one of the bosses. He just puts a finger up and then you just see like Ken like do the finger thing, just like loving all of it. Oh my God. So fucking funny. But
when he goes up to the doctor in the hospital and he's just like, "Oh, can I see the doctor?" And she's like, "I'm a doctor." He's like, no, the doctor.
I would like a clicky pen.
I would like a clicky pen.
And something sharp.
His rock power ballad is okay. Here's the thing. I spoke to Zack on the phone about this, but I originally put Barbie at 3.5 stars. On a rewatch, it has gone up to 4 because of that fucking power ballad. It pushes it over the edge. That is such exquisite content.
All credit
Excuse me.
Greta loves cinema.
Yes,
just from that.
All fucking credit to Greta Gerwig, because that comes at the climax of the film.
Yeah, it's actually quite brilliant what she does.
Yeah, the Barbies have like set their brilliant plan, spurred on by America Ferrera's big speech. They've set their plan into motion. They're going to reinstate their constitution and keep Barbie Land as Barbie Land. And, a lesser filmmaker might go, okay, well, our protagonists are doing a thing. We need to follow our protagonists.
It would get so
as
convoluted.
they do a thing.
Yeah.
Instead, we get a fucking 11-minute like prog rock power ballad with a dream ballet to cap it.
Like golden era cinema type dance number.
Yeah, like
and it ends with men holding hands and singing together.
It's beautiful.
So here's something that I want to bring up from Greta Gerwig herself. She mentioned, really quickly, is that though it's brilliant though how instead of going through the whole convoluted steps of seeing them like retake the government or their world, you have this huge power ballad, and then it just ends with like, "Hey, weren't we supposed to have a vote today?" Yeah, that was today, wasn't it? And then you just cut to them winning. It's like, that's fucking brilliant. That's so good. That's all you need. That's all you fucking need. It's so simple. It's so beautiful. But anyways, the Greta Gerwig talked about how during COVID, she has kids and showed her kids old slapstick comedies in musicals. So musicals from like the 1950s and 60s and slapstick comedies from like Harold Lloyd, Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And her kids who, grow up with iPads, grow up with the internet, they're your typical kid, they were laughing out loud. They were busting their gut at this 1920s silent picture Harold Lloyd content and Buster Keaton stuff because of just how beautiful it is. And Greta Gerwig was like, a part of me thinks that like physical storytelling peaked in the 1920s and we have yet to usurp it. And when it comes to musical numbers, they used to be so mainstream. Men dancing, women dancing, it was commonplace. Men and women, they would go to the cinema and see it, and it now men dancing together is kind of maybe not seen as being super masculine. But Greta Gerwig said that she finds men dancing together in sync in a large group to be tearful. She said that while she was shooting the big power ballad bits, she was crying behind the monitor because seeing all of these men kind of throwing their you know, the whole masculine roughness aside and just being together in rhythm and moving their bodies was just so powerful for her that that's how she wanted to kind of bridge that gap in the third act. And I think it's absolutely wonderful. And it also further goes to the whole Mattel sequence at the headquarters where they're running through all the cubicles and you have these, what I thought were stuntmen like jumping through frame in these most elaborate most flamboyant movements. Those were actual dancers that were just lunging themselves across the room. And she was inspired from Buster Keaton films. That's her nod to like the whole...
He's the fucking man.
That's her nod.
He's the fucking man. Everyone's inspired by Buster.
Yeah, she was watching these silent films with her kids, and she was like, God, you know, when you have a character run in this direction and then change direction, and then all the people that are chasing him just like pile up in a group in a ball, that doesn't get fucking funnier than that. So she tried to put some of that into the movie, into the whole power ballad thing, and the big dance number. It's just, I think it's great.
Guys, my main takeaway from this conversation is protect Greta Gerwig at all fucking costs.
Let her
because
cook.
You know what else is so great about her as a director? Not only just like what she's able to bring out of her actors and like what she can do within the frame to make it interesting, but being on her sets are apparently so joyful, so wonderful. People have said what a joy it is to work with her.
I believe it.
And you know, it's possible to be brilliant and not be a dick.
How about
and
that?
To be under a lot of stress and to manage that well and to still be good to the people that are around you. So protect Greta Gerwig at all costs. I'm really, really excited to see like what she continues to do with like, especially since like, so like no shade to like Noah Baumbach, but like I feel like he's never kind of really branched out of his like family drama kind of
art house
like
thing.
Yeah, and like Greta Gerwig like so quickly has like, you know, done a couple things and then all of a sudden Barbie, you know, like I think she's really gonna fucking pop off.
Well, listen, somebody,
and I'm really fucking excited.
Somebody has got to put bread on the table in that family.
She's in pre-production on she's redoing the Narnia movies.
Interesting.
Greta Gerwig is doing Chronicles of Narnia as her next film, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah. Again, I heard about that too, and I think initially I was like, oh, well, I'm not super interested in that. But you know what? If Greta Gerwig wants to do it, I'm in.
She said she knew the moment she had to make it was when her little boy asked her, are you going to make another movie after Barbie? You know, being a young kid, not knowing. And she goes, yeah, I'm going to make another movie. It's about Narnia. And not having been read the books of Narnia yet, his eyes apparently lit up. It was like, what's Narnia? And she was like, okay, yeah, I'm
gotta do it.
I gotta do this. If that's what like ignites him. I think Greta Gerwig, she did such a good job. And then another little funny story that I learned that I really like. This goes back to Ryan Gosling about how to do Ken. I did not hear the Eva Mendes story, but I did hear another anecdote that Ryan Gosling didn't really know how to approach the character of Ken and realized that I think my kids were gifted Barbies like a few Christmases ago or something. There's got to be some Barbies in the house. And
yes.
Yeah, he's going through the toys. Like, oh, there's a Barbie, but couldn't find a Ken. And so he goes into the backyard just thinking about, like, how the fuck am I going to do Ken? How the fuck am I going to do Ken? And he sees in the corner of the backyard in the mud next to a decomposing lemon, face down in the mud, a Ken doll. And he picked up Ken, turned him around, covered in mud, and has just thought to himself, no one cares about Ken.
He literally took a picture of the Ken lying face down in the mud, sent it to Greta Gerwig, and said, I shall be your Ken, for his story must be told.
Yes. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
I love that, man.
If that ain't inspiring, I don't know what is.
There's a couple lines in this movie that I wanted to read off really quick if we're kind of wrapping things up.
Please.
She's going to watch the BBC Pride and Prejudice for the 7th time.
Yes.
I felt seen, attacked, isolated.
Yeah. I always
shot
think of you
in
when
the
I see
heart.
that. I always think about that. That is absolutely for Alexis.
Yep.
There's a little bit for every
Yeah, it was
type
like
of...
ordinary Barbie. She
Yeah.
cries. She eats ice cream. She watches the BBC Pride and Prejudice for the 7th time. I was like,
There's a little something for every type of hipster. No matter where you exist on the hipster spectrum, there's a little nugget in there for you with Barbie.
Oh. Also, the first time that I saw this movie, I went and saw it with my sister in theaters. And when Margot Robbie decides to give up and she becomes kind of doll-like she goes into this sitting position that's very doll-like and then just topples over onto the grass and then literally goes face down into the grass. My sister dead ass leaned over and she's like, "That's just like you." And I was like,
brutal.
it's so brutal. And then Margot Robbie literally says, "This is the lowest I've ever been emotionally and physically." And I was like,
That's funny.
Got your ass.
I love that Michael Cera was like, I need to be in a Greta Gerwig movie. He was so excited when Barbie, when he heard talks about Barbie, he was like, I gotta be on this. And one of his lines is one of my favorite lines of the movie, and it's, "I cannot sit on one more leather couch. It will break my spirit." Because I feel that in my soul. I fucking hate leather couches. I'm right there with you, Alan.
It's so specific.
It's a fucking specific type of dude that has the faux leather couch. If you're not, listeners, if you're a man and you are not between the ages of 18 and 22, get rid of that faux leather couch. Get a nice couch.
Get a real leather couch.
Doesn't matter. No. Wait.
No.
Yeah, no, it's a dirtbag move for sure. Well, Barbie.
Go ahead.
It's a fucking fun watch.
It is a fun watch. And interestingly, the way it's also connected to Oppenheimer is that they're both Jewish films. Because if you think about it, the creator of Barbie, Ruth Handler was a Jewish woman, and the creator of the atomic bomb was a Jewish man.
All right.
No, it is. Actually, think about it.
No, I'm going to go with you here.
Yeah, it is
This
actually
is a weird, strange through line
This
to
is
bring
a
up.
fucking crazy segue, but
No,
you know
it
what?
is. Think about it.
Weave in and out of traffic, Mr. Blart. Let's get us to our fucking destination.
But think about it, because Barbie is the culmination of feminism. Really, it's a Jewish invention of feminism and kind of the matriarchy, and then you have the bomb, Oppenheimer, which is a Jewish invention that was in response to what was happening to the Jewish people in Europe. And yes, it ended up being a bad thing, but it's basically the culmination of the most toxic and dangerous aspects of the patriarchy. That's another fascinating way that these movies mirror each other. And it's really interesting to think about.
Yeah, again,
that didn't occur to me until a few days ago.
I don't quite see the Barbie specifically. While the creator of Barbie might have been Jewish.
Yeah, it doesn't have to do with Judaism, but it is a Jewish invention.
Yeah, but I don't view that as a specifically Jewish film. Or Judaism being particularly important to it.
Is that what I said?
No, I think it's a weird through line to glom onto. But you know what?
I'm not glomming onto it. I'm just
you know what? It could have definitely led with just the patriarchy, because I also had that thought when I was watching, after having seen Oppenheimer and then watching Barbie. I was like, yeah, so men with power, they're crazy. They want to make war. That's what happens, and that's all that I know from watching these two movies.
Listen, as Will Ferrell in Barbie says, some of my best friends are Jewish.
That's right.
Anyways, Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer is a Christopher Nolan film, as I previously stated, starring Cillian Murphy. During World War II, Lieutenant General Leslie Groves Jr. appoints physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer to work on the top-secret Manhattan Project. Oppenheimer and a team of scientists spend years developing and designing the atomic bomb. Their work comes to fruition on July 16th, 1945, as they witness the world's first nuclear explosion, forever changing the course of history. I mean,
I'd say that's about right.
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's about Robert Oppenheimer.
So
this is a stone cold masterpiece.
Yeah,
it's capital M on a rewatch. If I had rewatched this movie before I did my list, this probably would have hopped up to the number 2 spot.
I feel vindicated in having it be my number 1.
This is a really special movie. It flies by. I saw it last night and was amazed how quickly those 3 hours flew by. It's the culmination of everything Christopher Nolan has been developing up to this point.
Yeah.
And I am in awe of this movie. I will probably watch it again. Which is a fucking really incredible thing to say about a 3-hour movie. I find it very disturbing. I watched a lot of it through my hands, even on a second watch. This is a scary film, and it also, like, I think one of the really genius things about this movie is Nolan has talked about how the building of the Los Alamos lab and the Manhattan Project leading up to the Trinity test, that segment of the movie is kind of like a heist film, because you're getting together your team of specialists to try to pull off this impossible job. And, like, it does have that feel to it. And you kind of, much like these scientists, get swept up in this drive to create this thing, which, I think is a really neat trick for a movie where, the central question, the thing that Nolan has said got him on board with this is going to be my next movie, is the point where the scientists developing the bomb thought that there was a chance that they could ignite the atmosphere and start a chain reaction that destroys the entire planet. And the notion of how do you learn that and keep going, and like that drive for, discovery and scientific progress, it is very, very dark. And, you immediately feel the ramifications of that right after the Trinity test, when you see those 2 bombs going away on the trucks. That is like immediately the movie builds to this crescendo of, oh my God, they've done this thing. And then you get right away, oh, right, that's what this thing is. You never should have. The hubris of trying to do this, the arrogance and the disregard for what you're actually doing, the ability to delude yourself. That shot of the trucks so going away.
The fucking allusion to Prometheus at the very beginning, the guy who brings fire to the human race, right? Gives them the power to destroy themselves. The through line of the atmospheric ignition comment through that comes back at the very end when we actually get to see what his conversation with Albert Einstein was, which was that. And oh my God, but that, do you remember how, so I texted the group chat after I saw this in IMAX to be like, hey guys, having a rough night. I just got out of this movie in IMAX and I'm crying in my car eating cold pizza. Because at the very end of the movie, he says to Einstein, hey, do you remember when I brought you that paper that, suggested we might cause like atmospheric ignition? He's like, yeah, like, so he whatever says, became of that.
I remember it well.
And he says, I think we did. Like, destroy the world,
Yeah, his comment of like, you recall when we thought that we might start a chain reaction that would destroy the world. I believe we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you get that shot of him in the cockpit where you get the rocket that at once was the V2 is now all these ICBMs flying in the sky.
Yeah.
And you realize what had happened. Yeah, I originally had Oppenheimer at 4.5. I didn't give any movies from 2023 a 5-star, but on a rewatch, it's bumped up to 5.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is.
That's
a
so funny
masterpiece.
because
you gave it 5 out.
when
of the
movie
gate.
came out,
Yeah.
I gave it a 5 out of 5. It's not, you know, my top movie of the year, but when that movie came out, it was the only movie in the entire year that I'd given 5 stars to.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I was talking to Zack a little earlier about this, that Christopher Nolan, I find someone to be, to me personally, kind of a frustrating filmmaker because he does so many genres and he does so many movies of epic scale, which are both things that I love. Though he does some creative choices sometimes, or sometimes I think his scripts maybe leave a little bit to be desired, and he frustrates me because it's like he's so close to achieving the perfect movie that I want from him. He's always so close, tantalizingly close. And on the third viewing, as I'm sitting there with this 50-foot tall screen watching this thing, about halfway through, I realized that this was the movie I have been wanting Christopher Nolan to make. Not specifically American Prometheus, but just this type of movie that is just so intellectual and sophisticated in its themes, in its ideas. The fact that it's not sanctimonious at all. It doesn't preach. It doesn't tell you how to think. It simply is. It takes a very neutral stance because it's a very enigmatic film because the character of Oppenheimer is extremely enigmatic.
And
it's
to
like
himself, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. I really don't think that Oppenheimer knows himself any more than we do. I really believe that, or at least the Oppenheimer that we get that's being channeled through Cillian Murphy's performance, which must I say is I want him to win the Academy Award.
I do too. I think he
wins because I'm getting chills thinking about it right now. Like the IMAX format, I sound like such a fucking soundbite, but of course it's all about the huge frame and squeezing in as much stuff as you can into a single screen, and you can fit so much epic stuff in there. But what was so brilliant, what Hoyte van Hoytema did was he chose this huge screen, this huge format to shoot close-ups.
Yeah.
And to see these characters in the eyes, and it's specifically Cillian. I don't know how the fuck you play this part. I still don't know how you play it, and I've seen this movie 3 times, and he absolutely nails it. His inner turmoil, his inner chaos that comes down to a particle level. A subparticle level where he's having these visions of the universe and how particles work and electrons work and all of this stuff. And you see that in his face. You see what you said, lack of conviction. Yeah. Really, it's a really good way to put it. It's all on the face. And it's such an amazing performance that I truly believe that he doesn't quite know himself, which is why I think he puts in such an effort. I think this is both the person of J. Robert Oppenheimer and the character that we get in the film of putting on this persona.
Yeah.
They talk about it in the behind the scenes with the hat in the pipe.
Well, and Cillian Murphy's talked about it, and you see in all of these photos of Oppenheimer, you'll see him kind of standing with his hands on his hips. And so right now, currently, I'm doing a political canvassing job, which is you're out there talking to people on the street.
Yep.
And, one of the things that they tell you when they're training you is body language is really important. You need to look open. You need to look confident. And literally one of those things that they tell you is place your hands on your hips. It gives you a like more open stance. It projects confidence. And like, that's a thing that over and over you see J. Robert Oppenheimer doing, is taking this sort of power stance because he is creating this kind of cowboy scientist character. He's the great salesman of science, as someone says in the film.
He really does become a politician.
Yeah.
He really does. And I love that you said cowboy, because what is Los Alamos other than a Western outpost that he's kind of the sheriff of? I found that to be really fascinating as well, especially with the visuals and everything. You know, he's riding on his horse and he's like, you know, his ultimate fantasy is to mix physics with New Mexico.
Yeah.
And he gets that. So in a way, it almost feels like he's just, his pursuit of the bomb is really his pursuit of complete.
It's a selfish pursuit.
It is. It's like euphoria for him. It's his ultimate fantasy that he's fulfilling. And I mean, you know, Ian Malcolm said it himself. You know,
just because you didn't stop.
They thought so hard about whether or not they could. They didn't stop to think if they should.
Yeah,
which still applies.
Absolutely. Alexis, you were brave enough to give Oppenheimer 5 stars.
Yeah, you knew before we did.
You were on the money before.
Which, didn't you give Barbie 4 stars?
I literally walked out of the theater the first time and I was like, I think this is a masterpiece.
Did you give Barbie 4 stars?
I gave Barbie 4 stars when I first saw it.
So it took me about 8 or 9 months to finally come around to Alexis's conclusions, because now I have Barbie
She's
at 4.
a soothsayer.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just writing the coattails.
Exactly.
Yeah, listen, good coattails to ride.
You know what?
They're nice and long.
There's been many times when, you know, to be honest, I also wasn't 100% sure on Barbie, but then I realized that maybe I was just, you know, I was being too hard on it, so I did give it the 4 stars because I think that my qualms with it were, you know, about what we discussed before.
That's still.
But with Oppenheimer, I think it is really hard for a 3-hour movie to feel like it never fucking let go of you, and I did not feel like I ever had a moment where I was uninterested or not sure about the trajectory of the movie. And like you said, Zach, it combines like all the fucking things that we do like about Christopher Nolan, and, you know, the things that are really classic about good structural writing, which is he gives us a fucking countdown. You know, I remember when they start the fucking countdown for the bomb during the Trinity test, I literally thought, oh, and here we go back to a fucking film class about what's the perfect like little thing to put into a script, a countdown.
Ticking clock.
And Nolan does love his really quick edits. He loves parallel timelines, and you get all of those things, and they work really well in making the pace of the movie quick, even if what, you know, it's a court meeting or something, you know, that might not really be that interesting if you only watch it just as that one scene, you know, but when it's intercut with other things that are related to it, you know, obviously it gives it more zhuzh. The script, I'm sorry, is so fucking good because there's so many moments that refer back to each other. And really just like further sell what it is that they were saying. Kitty, when Jean commits suicide, possibly, you know, I think in Oppenheimer's head, he's not entirely sure whether or not she killed herself. When she dies, he loses it. And Kitty has to go find him. And she tells him, and this is one of my favorite moments, is you don't get to commit the sin and then feel sorry for yourself because there are consequences. Pull yourself together. These people need you. And what does he do? He pulls himself together, you know, gets back to the job, blah, blah, blah. Now, what I think is really interesting is that you can tell that he's starting to lose it the day that the bomb actually drops on Hiroshima. You can tell that he's finally kind of understanding the gravity of what he created, helped to create, and has essentially allowed the world to put into the world, you know? But instead of fucking losing it, he pulls himself together and he makes the speeches that he knows that he needs to make for the people so that he's the only one who has to handle that burden for the moment. You know?
And there's interesting. There's another interesting layer to that I find that comes up in another fucking powerhouse performance in this movie, Robert Downey Jr., when he's talking about Oppenheimer towards the end of the film after his cabinet position has been denied or it's going to be denied. He goes, I know J. Robert Oppenheimer, and if he could do it all over, he'd do it all the same. He gets to be the martyr because of this. He gets to be remembered for Trinity, not Hiroshima, not Nagasaki. And the notion, because I think what Kitty actually says in that scene is, you don't get to commit the sin and have all of us feel sorry for you. And I think that like, I almost buy into, again, obviously these are characters in this fictional retelling of this story, but the notion that the reason that Oppenheimer becomes so, you know, a large part of the reason he becomes so staunchly anti-nuclear proliferation and allows himself to be put through these humiliating, you know, closed door hearings is because it allows him to be a martyr and it allows him to feel absolved from what he's done.
One of my other favorite Kitty lines comes towards the very end of the movie where she says, did you think if you let them tar and feather you, then the world would forgive you? And I swear to God, I started tearing up. Just Emily Blunt's face before she even delivers the line somehow just had my heart in like a chokehold in that moment. So good.
I think he not allowed it, but subjected himself to that because I think deep down he felt that he deserved it in a way, or at the very least that it gives the image that he's enduring this kind of thing, that he is suffering. He wants that to be known to people. It's hard to tell. I'm kind of with you, Zach. I think it is possible that I think he would do it again. I really do.
It's, you know, it's the...
Of course he would.
Discovery of his lifetime, you know, consequences be damned.
Yeah, in what you mentioned earlier about how he really has a phobia of consequence, like with the Communist Party. That he'll backtrack, or he starts forming a union for teachers, and then it's like, well, they're not going to let you onto the project. You know, you keep doing this shit, and then he's like, you know, you need to act straight. You need to clean up. He goes, I know exactly what you mean. And then he immediately drops it. He'll pick things up, and then he'll immediately drops it when the heat starts to come.
It's exactly what happens with him and oh my God, why am I blanking on Florence Pugh's character?
Kitty.
No, not Kitty. Jean Tatlock. It's what.
Jean, that's what I said.
Yeah, it's exactly what he does with her. The heat gets too hot and he drops her.
I love how the movie begins because you have this guy who's in school and then all of a sudden a teacher does one thing to fucking piss him off and he's like, oh, I'm going to put a little cyanide in his apple, right? So right off the bat, Nolan gives us a reason to question his morals. You know, and of course he comes back for the apple, right? But he's hot-headed enough to decide to do something that atrocious at that age, right? You know, to possibly fucking kill somebody, you know, just for a slight. So it gives us already this idea that this guy isn't a stand-up guy, possibly. He can be like led astray.
You know who I think is, you know, the supporting performance to talk about in this movie, obviously. Let's get into it. Matt Damon.
I was going to say Robert Downey Jr., the one that's nominated.
I love Matt Damon in this movie.
I do love Matt Damon.
He is so good.
He is exceptional.
And I kind of suspected, I mean, obviously there are laugh lines for him, but I kind of suspected that he was like coming at this from, I am the source of levity in this very dark story. And I watched the behind the scenes of this movie, and he did basically say that. He is like, feels very true to the world, but he does like bring some humor and some humanity to this role that I think is very welcome, with his just like frustration and sort of like being the like hall monitor for all these eccentric scientists.
It can happen organically because General Groves is military.
Yes.
These are brainiacs.
Which I also love that in terms of like, he's a guy who's playing a character a little bit because he's acting like, oh, I don't understand all these science types.
Even though he
went to MIT.
And went to MIT,
But I
love that.
The bit with him that fucking kills me, I think it's such a good delivery, is when him and Oppenheimer are going across the country recruiting scientists, and they're on a train together, and Oppenheimer says, "What can I tell these men?" And Damon, with like a mouthful of food, goes, "As much as you want, till you feel my foot on your balls." It's like so good.
Something that I really appreciate about the movie is, you know, in the behind the scenes, Robert Downey Jr., who, by the way, I don't think we give enough credit to him being a true intellectual artist.
He is so fucking smart. I love hearing that dude talk about
intelligent.
film.
Yeah, just hearing him talk about the character. But he mentioned something that actually quite a few characters...
Alexis gives him enough credit.
Something that quite a few actors
I'm like,
talk about.
Don't lump me in with other people, Mick.
is how this has a cast of like from Ben-Hur. It continues the old tradition of a movie that comes out that has seemingly everyone in it. Yeah. I mean, everyone. And Christopher Nolan mentions that, you know, reading it, it's going to be kind of tough because you have Dr. Lawrence, Dr. Isidore Rabi, Dr. Nettermeyer, Dr. Bainbridge, Dr. Hill. You know, you have all of these character names, Roger Robb, you have Richard Feynman, you have Edward Teller, Niels Bohr. You're going to get all of these characters just coming at you, like they mention it once, and then maybe 30 minutes will go by, you see him again.
And it's a movie cut, like, oftentimes kind of like a montage in how quickly it moves.
And he knew that's tough to read, but it won't be tough to read if you put these minor, you know, supporting characters that aren't inconsequential. Everyone has a consequence on this story, but you put names that the audiences will recognize and appreciate and respect to each of these little characters. And before you know it, you've woven this beautiful quilt of just like, it's absolutely incredible. In fact, I love what Gustav Skarsgård said, who plays Hans Beta, excuse me, where he talks about how basically the approach of this ensemble was very much like a symphony, where you're not, you know, Cillian Murphy is, he's the main singer, like he's the main instrument, but everyone else, you have the violin, you have the drummer, you have the xylophone, but if you take one of those things out, the song is going to be slightly off. But no one is going to be reaching for that moment to come out and really pronounce themselves. It's all in symphony with one another. And the fact that they all came to this project wanting to bring their absolute best, but be a part of an overall piece, really, really comes through. And I just love the huge cast of characters in this. And it's just, it's incredible. This movie was made. I love that it exists.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
One of my favorite parts of the movie is the introduction of Casey Affleck's character, Pash. Because there is it builds really, really good suspense because they start talking about this Pash, right? They start talking about him in a previous scene. And then there's little mentions. You keep seeing like part of a scene. But you never, you start hearing his voice even. You don't see his face. you know, and just the way that they're talking about him makes him sound obviously so ominous, and the choice to not show his face for an extended amount of time in his like character introduction of who he is really effective. And on the second watch, I was like, oh, wow, I really, really love this moment before we meet Pash. It felt like really, really strong suspense for this one character that we know is going to fuck some shit up.
Yeah, and on top of it, when you have a movie that's full of A-listers from top to bottom, huge names, and you start to see the back of someone's head, the audience, myself, I'm like, who the fuck is this going to be? Who's it going to be? Oh my God, it's Casey Affleck. Who the fuck? Who
I knew
thought?
From his voice.
Well, yes, but the point is, you're not only are you anticipating the character, you're anticipating who's Christopher Nolan cast to play this character. Yeah. And also, I know I go on about period hair, but holy fuck. Casey Affleck's conservative as hell haircut. Fuck, man.
Downies as well.
Oh, so good. The hair is absolutely exquisite. It takes you back to that time. So good.
Couple more things. I'm very happy to see A Cure for Wellness's own Dane DeHaan back at it. I'm fucking ride or die for my sickly boy. Character. Yeah, he's a scumbag. But you know, who better to play a little fucking weasel?
What, Colonel Nichols, is it?
Yes, I believe so.
True. Yeah, Nichols.
But the other thing is one thing that has to be said about this film. Chris Nolan ain't never beaten the scared of sex allegations. Christopher Nolan movies, I feel like, are notoriously not sexual and like I feel like shy away from sex in, you know.
Oh, that's so funny because the moment that Florence Pugh drops down on his dick when he's saying, and now I am become death, destroyer of worlds, is possibly one of the hottest things I've ever seen in my life.
This is what
and on
I'm
the second
saying.
Rewatch, I was like, it is indeed the hottest thing.
What I'm saying is Christopher Nolan is like, what reminds me of the most horrifying thing that I could possibly imagine, the most destructive force. Having sex with a woman. It terrifies me. It is as though it were a nuclear explosion. And then I
don't agree with that take at all.
I don't sincerely think that, but I think it's funny that like a filmmaker who is kind of so shy about portraying sexuality in his movies, the moment that he like full-blown has a sex scene in a film, it is inextricably linked to the creation of the most destructive force known to man. I don't think that there's anything meant by that.
I think there is something meant by it. I think what's meant by it is to kind of show the complicated morality of this man. That something that has long been attributed to him as saying the first thing he said after detonating the Trinity test, we are introduced to in the film through almost orgasm, basically, which shows that, is this a terrible thing to this man, or is it something that he, not to sound crass, but gets off on?
Is it when he finally busts?
Okay, all right.
Well, come on, Zach. It's a big explosion, and you hear a line from when he was fucking.
Zach, I love you, but that Christopher Nolan is giving more of a Werner Herzog than a Nolan.
Werner Herzog, I'm quite terrified of tits on the IMAX screen on the largest scale.
Can I just say something that Zach and I have said in the past, which is that Christopher Nolan needs a writing partner.
Disagree now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We would like to, this is Correction Corner.
It's Correction Corner. It's Apology Corner, really.
It's Apology Corner.
Mr. Nolan, we're sorry, and I'm sorry for the impression I did of you, even though it was spot on.
Something that I love about the structure of this film is how much it mirrors the story. And the ideas within the movie, I should say. So, like, basically, I've heard a few people lament that the movie kind of loses steam for them after the Trinity test, which I can understand where they're coming from. I don't personally agree because, first of all, the last hours is exquisite it's so tempting to say courtroom drama, but it isn't. It's a hearing, but that's kind of the point.
Hearing. You're not on trial. You're just being denied.
Right. And that's going to go into something I'm going to talk about later. But how the bomb is this huge buildup. The creation of it is this huge, huge buildup. Just like the film you talked about, it's a heist. It's something that Nolan mentioned. You have this huge buildup coming to it. And then you get the literal explosion, the blast.
Yeah.
And then you have
everywhere.
When a nuclear explosion goes off, it's not just the detonation, it's the nuclear fallout.
Yeah.
It's the consequences of detonating the bomb at a molecular level. You get radiation. And the consequences that fall upon Oppenheimer and the other characters is just like the nuclear fallout. The structure of the film, that last hour, is this film's own nuclear fallout, where it's poisoning to the characters. And then lastly, one more thing I'll say that I didn't get until the third time I watched it, but I love it. I love this, is when Oppenheimer is, it's IEC, right? Is that what it is?
AEC, the Atomic Energy Commission.
The AEC. When he's trying to get his accreditation renewed to get into the AEC, he has to go through this arduous process that Strauss has put forth, has manipulated, being, you have to be a manipulator to survive in Washington, that he's put forth, and he's assured the destruction of Oppenheimer simply by being denied. And that is mirrored by what happens to Strauss being denied his cabinet post when the senator's aide reminds him, saying, "You're not on trial here, sir. You're simply getting denied."
Yeah.
Just like what happened to Oppenheimer because of his own actions to the scientific community. And I love how the narrative ending of this film mirrors nuclear...
It's mutually assured destruction.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened to these two characters.
That's a good point, Mickey boy.
Yeah. I thought...
You're cooking.
I didn't notice until the third time I watched it, but I was like, holy fuck. They even used the term, you're not getting convicted, you're simply being denied. And that's exactly what happened to both of them. It was mutually assured destruction from their own actions. Fucking incredible. Like Christopher Nolan, hats fucking off to you. Good Lord.
Christopher Nolan, good at movies.
The sound design is also obviously really fucking good. One of my favorite things is when he's giving that speech after the bomb dropped in Hiroshima, how he can hear the rumbling. You know that there's rumbling from people, putting their feet down on the ground and, what would we call it? Stomping the ground, right? But then you can see the rumbling of the wall behind him, and then you hear this blast come in. There's no noise from it, but you just see people's kind of skin kind of flying off, the ramifications of radiation.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan's daughter in that one shot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's his daughter who you see the skin peeling off of her face.
Oh, interesting. I'm not sure that I would want to see that on the big screen as a parent, but sure.
I'm sure Christopher Nolan didn't either. I think
he's making a point with that.
Yeah, it's, I think that's like trying to drive the horror of this home. Like, what could be more horrifying to him than this happening to his own daughter?
You have the sounds of celebration that at times are interlaced with what is screaming, crying. You see moments where people are celebrating by necking, having a little puss on the side or something underneath the bleachers. And then it turns into maybe there's something bad happening. You come outside, this guy's really drunk and he's throwing up at the bike rack. And of course, as we know from radiation poisoning, you start to get fucking sick. So you have all of these different things going on in the scene that are obviously it's celebration around the bomb, but it all mirrors the effects of what has actually happened, and that's how everything that he sees is polluted by the knowledge of what has happened, you know? And I don't know. I really fucking like this movie.
No,
and
I think
I'm definitely going to see it again.
yeah.
Yeah.
That scene I think is a masterclass in particular with sound design.
Yeah.
It's it's so good at putting you in the head of Oppenheimer and being numb, fucking numb. And also, every time I've seen this movie, that scene makes me cry. Every time. It's absolutely incredible. It's immediately when the sound cuts and you hear a little girl scream.
Yeah.
I lose it.
I think that there was a lot of discussion when this movie came out of like, oh, this movie doesn't show the effects of Hiroshima directly. And I personally, I think this is a more respectful...
I think that would be exploitative.
Yeah, I think that this sells the horror of that while still, you know, remaining true to the constraint of the story being focused on Oppenheimer and largely, I mean, the script's written in his perspective.
He does step into like a body on the ground that's like charred, you know. We don't need to see the pictures, you know. We see what
our characters
was
see
the
the
effects
pictures
in that scene.
Yeah,
our characters see the pictures. There's that scene where the scientists are watching the slideshow of people's burns that were wearing striped shirts. The burns are in striped shapes. It's like fucking it's incredible.
And I think that sequence coming before they actually see the images from Hiroshima and Nagasaki, like I think is, you know, a fucking indictment of Oppenheimer, because it goes to show that like he invented this thing. He knows what the effects are going to be on the human body and on the Japanese people. And he's just now allowing himself to think about it after he's already done it. And
he can't even,
he's given this
he can't
speech
even look at the pictures though.
Yeah. After he's given this speech where he's like, you know, I bet the Japanese didn't like it. You know, it's, that scene is cold chills over my entire body.
Cold chills, but it also goes back to that thing that I said where he's like, he's keeping it together because he knows that the burden is his. And maybe that's just his masochistic, like, it is, you know, this is my creation and therefore I have to do the penance for it, you know, and maybe he really starts that in that moment. But, yeah.
I think this also, this movie goes hand in hand with his last movie, Tenet. I don't remember who I heard making this point. I would love to shout them out. But the notion that this and Tenet are kind of sister films, because Tenet is a movie whose kind of central conceit is what if you could uninvent a terrible invention? Yeah. And literally invokes Oppenheimer. I retroactively like Tenet more, a movie that I already appreciated more on a second viewing.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. Yeah. I mean, this makes me want to really watch, read American Prometheus.
Yeah.
Because this feels like, it can be confirmed or denied after reading the book, but this feels like a really wonderful book adaptation because it feels like a book. It's so dense.
Yeah, it's rich in detail.
It's rich in detail. It's rich in people and characters and events, and there's so much crisscrossing happening with relationships. It's really, really incredible in the way it unfolds. And it does feel like a book where the culmination of the film is not Trinity. It is not Hiroshima or Nagasaki. It goes pretty much to him winning an award for his service to the country. Yeah. And all of the contradictions and moral gray zones that surround that. It's Christopher Nolan. He really did a wonderful service to I think the story, to the book, and to moviegoers everywhere.
Yeah, to the audience, respecting people to absorb all of this.
Yeah,
came out the same day as Barbie.
One of my other.
Came out the same day as Barbie. Isn't that something? Mm-hmm. Anyways, go.
One of my other favorite moments in the film is right before the Trinity test takes place when I think they're preparing for the test to go on the next day, right? Because now they're on a time crunch, and they say something like, well, who's going to stop us now, right? And then you literally fucking smash cut to thunder and clouds rolling in, and immediately it is the assertion that even God, even nature is protesting this moment.
Interesting read.
Even God or nature does not want for this to happen, and I just really loved that just that cut specifically of who could stop us now. Cut to thunder and dark clouds rolling into our scene.
Good read. I didn't. Yeah,
this should probably win editing, huh?
Yes.
This is probably the best movie of the year.
Yeah.
Also,
I will be really upset, honestly, if it doesn't win editing.
This movie's going to clean the fuck up at the Oscars.
Yeah.
And then literally, Oppenheimer's like, is anybody going to tell the truth about what is happening here? And then literally we cut to Hill's testimony at the hearing.
Rami Malek.
I loved John. Did you see John Mulaney's bit at the Governor Awards?
No.
He gave a whole speech where he was like many audiences watching Oppenheimer, I was like, why did Rami Malek show up for 2 lines in this? Is the catering just really good? And hours later, I was like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know, with the little pen.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
Also, again, like such a good casting of like a guy who is going to be in the background, but stick in your mind, because who fucking looks like Rami Malek?
That's true. Also, that's another reason why I love Edward Teller, played by Benny Safdie. Oh my God. I don't know what it is. He's low-key one of my favorite parts of the film.
He's really good.
I
Benny
love his
Safdie
character.
is like a low-key goated character actor.
I love the fact that he is involved with this and yet not involved. He's just trying to focus so much on the H-bomb. It's fascinating. I love the Go ahead.
I kept forgetting who that was. I was like, I know this guy is someone. I just don't know who he is. So, and then now that you said it, now I'm like, okay, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I also love Josh Hartnett. He's really, really great in this.
David Krumholtz.
Mom,
David
I'm
Krumholtz.
on the fucking podcast. Please leave me alone.
Whoa. Damn.
Next day.
Sorry.
Wow. Damn. Fantastic. Also, Alexis.
Almost 11 p.m.
I know. We'll try to wrap it up soon, but this is, I don't even know if I should mention it, but fuck it, I loved it. In the behind the scenes, they're interviewing Tom Conti, who plays Albert Einstein, about shooting at Princeton University. And he does the actor Tom Conti in his interview does this thing that had me cackling, where he's like, yeah, I would just like walk around and, like people would look at me and be like, oh, that's Albert Einstein. That's an actor playing Albert Einstein. And then he would and then he did this thing where he's like, all I have to do is just kind of like do that Albert Einstein look. And then he like crosses his eyes slightly and looks immediately like Albert Einstein. And I laughed so fucking hard. It's like, no, I'm not an actor. I actually just invented a machine that brought me forward in time. I'm back now. I just got back last night. So good. And then one last shout out really quickly. I mentioned this in our top 10 episode, but James Remmer, who plays Henry L. Stimson, his line where he pitched this to Christopher Nolan, he came up with it himself, where he's talking about here are the 12 cities, actually strike that 11. I'm taking Kyoto off the list because that's where my wife and I like to honeymoon.
Yeah.
Every fucking time that line gets me. Like, it actually makes me tear up. And people laugh at it in the cinema, and I can kind of get why they're laughing.
Oh, I've never heard a laugh. It's always
people laugh in the cinema. Actually, you know what? When I saw it the other day, I don't know if someone was being a fucking troll or what the deal was, but the scene where he is talking to that crowd at Los Alamos and they're cheering and shit, and the sound with the scene we were talking about, when he says that. My only regret is that we didn't get to use it on the Nazis, and people are clapping. There was a guy in the audience that just started clapping along with it.
Man, fuck you.
Every time he would say something fucked up and someone in the movie was clapping, he would like start clapping with it. I was like, what the fuck?
Don't be that guy.
Like, I know that this movie isn't playing favorites on how to look at this situation, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I feel like
that's not the takeaway
The tenor of this scene is quite clear.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. I don't think we really touched on Emily Blunt enough, but her face, I've never seen her face do this kind of acting in this type of role before. The very end where, and I really do love the conversation that he has with Albert Einstein and how that bleeds into his award ceremony, where it's like, when you guys gave me that award, you guys thought I was all dried up, basically. And so that award really wasn't for me. It was for you guys. And so someday somebody's going to, give you serve you salmon pate and blah, blah, blah. Right. And it's not going to be for you. It's going to be for them so that they can, clap you on the back and say all is forgiven and blah, blah, blah. And the fucking moment that motherfucking Tellers comes up to Oppenheimer, and Oppenheimer fucking shakes his hands, and then he goes to Kitty and puts his hand out, and then you cut to fucking Emily Blunt's face, and the fucking, I don't know, she had her tongue in the side of her mouth or something, but it was like you could tell how disgusted, but also you think I'm gonna fucking shake your fucking hand, and just kind of seeing the anticipation die in Teller's eyes. It was such a satisfying fucking moment.
And I love it. I also love, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say another moment that Emily Blunt fucking crushes it is when Roger Robb is just trying to lay into her.
Her interrogation
the
scene
communism.
is awesome.
It's so good. The communism, but also, they're having this back and forth, and Roger Robb is letting her get to him, and he's getting frustrated, and he goes, well, why don't you answer the question? And she just kind of barks back at him, but very calmly going, I don't like your phrase. I don't like your phrasing. That's every time she delivers that line, almost to camera, just the way she says it with such conviction sends shivers down my spine. She is a
incredible
boss.
I love the what Oppenheimer says to his lawyer before Kitty takes her place in that hearing. He says, because the guy's convinced that she's not going to be good or whatever, right? That she shouldn't speak, and because she's an alcoholic or whatever, she seems like she's kind of out of it or whatever. And Oppenheimer says, only a fool or adolescent assumes to know someone else's relationship. She'll be here. She can do this. She's, and then you fucking see her, and that you only really see her in this role as a housewife throughout the things. But it's easy to forget that she is a biologist. She is a scientist herself. She is her own fucking woman. And she reasserts that many times throughout the movie, in this role of making sure that Oppenheimer knows, keep your fucking self together, But then in that hearing, you really see how fucking strong she is, and how fucking clever, and how fucking intelligent. And you can kind of see why, even if you question their relationship, why they are in some ways very good for each other. She's a rock. She's unbreakable.
I love it how he is a Prometheus chained to a rock for eternity.
All right.
Tortured forever.
Good.
She's
Good
the
job.
rock.
Good job.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. You owe Dwayne Johnson money.
Yeah, fuck.
So the final thing that I want to bring up, just because we've talked about the cast so much, and rightfully so, this is a all-star cast of actors, but I just want to shout out art director Samantha Englander, who I want to say this might have been the first film where she was the head of the art department.
Yeah.
And something that came up in the behind the scenes that's really impressive is how, so there's that scene in the Oval Office where he meets Truman, played by Gary Oldman. And apparently during production, they had a location for the Oval Office locked down, and it fell through right near when they were shooting. So they essentially had 5 days to get this figured out Nolan came to Samantha Englander and was like, you've got 5 days to build this set. And she was like, it's not just the office. You've got to build the hall. Like, there's all of this. It
was Ruth DeYoung is the production designer.
Oh, interesting.
But Samantha Englander is the assistant who had this in her back pocket.
Yeah, she was, so you're right, she was the person who had to deal with this. So, yeah, she essentially tracked down this Oval Office set that was in storage and, was...
From Veep.
Yeah, and was essentially told, like... This thing takes 2 weeks to build when it's laid out flat like this. And her art team got it done working in essentially working 24-hour days, switching off shifts, and got it done in the 5 days. And you could never tell in the movie. Apparently it smelled like wet paint when they were shooting.
Yeah.
What's crazy is I didn't even realize that this fucking art department were all the people that I knew from Nope. Because when I was, I was the COVID.
Because
I know, and I was like, oh yeah, Samantha, that sounds really familiar. So then I went and looked, and then I saw Ruth's name, and I was like, oh, Ruth. And then I went down farther, and I was like, oh, Jake and Roxy, because they were, I think it was like assistant art director, and then Roxy was just a PA on Nope, and now they're just like they're just art directors. How exciting!
Yeah, I mean, Alexis, it's fucking everyone. It's the grips, it's camera department. It's special effects. It's electric. Everyone that worked on Nope transferred over to Oppenheimer.
Wow, it's almost like they only work on 2020's masterpieces. That's interesting.
I just didn't get to see anybody from set, though, because I worked at the warehouse. So I don't really know anybody except for the art department and construction people.
Yeah.
Well, shouts the fuck out to them because they did incredible work.
They worked on a fucking masterpiece. Two masterpieces.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. I am quite curious to watch Nope again, just to see if it.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it for the who knows how
time.
Yeah, I've lost count.
But yeah, no. If we want to wrap up, I don't know how long this episode is, but it feels long.
It's more than 2 hours.
Wow.
Long.
Well, we are talking about two movies that are kind of the cultural touchstones of last year. So I think it warrants it.
But good pick, Zach. The Barbenheimer was great to revisit.
Thank you. I was very happy to rewatch these movies because I didn't get to in theaters. So we're out of 2023.
Yes.
We're heading into February.
Yes.
We're finally done talking about all these fucking new movies. Boo, new movies. Let's talk about something old. What's the theme of this next month, everyone? Are we doing Romance Month again?
No, actually, we're not doing Romance Month because, romance is dead.
You're goddamn right.
It's dead. It's dead.
Sloan, I love you. I don't mean that.
Yeah, Sam, you're fucking fantastic.
Okay, don't say it. We take it back.
I'm just
but
yeah.
What must be acknowledged is Black History Month.
Yeah, we did Queer Cinema Month, and we did some thinking, and we were like, we're really problematic. So let's maybe try to amend that.
Yeah, I'm losing the favored white boy title already. It's gone. I'm problematic.
So, but February is Black History Month, and there is so much fucking amazing goddamn movies to talk about from Black artists, Black directors, Black
talking
writers.
Black filmmakers.
Yeah, it's Black Cinema Month, and I'm fucking excited for this, really, because there's, like I said, there's so many fucking good movies out there that need to be talked about, and even movies that I haven't seen yet that I really want to watch.
Well, Mick, why don't you go ahead and mention one of those movies now?
Well, folks, next episode, we will be starting Black Cinema Month with 1971's Shaft, directed by Gordon Parks. This is a movie that is famous.
Stars Richard Roundtree.
Yes, the Richard Roundtree, and I've never actually seen it.
I'm very excited to watch it because I'm way behind on blaxploitation films. I've only seen a few.
I've only seen a few too, but every blaxploitation movie I watch, I fucking love. Even the ones that aren't quote unquote critical darlings. I just think they're such a vibe. And I believe this don't quote me on this. We'll get into it next episode, but I believe this was the first blaxploitation movie directed by a black person.
All right. Well, so, we'll see if you're right about that.
We'll see if I'm right. I could be wrong, but at the very least, it's a classic, and I can't wait to talk about it on our next episode.
And Mick, where can we find this film?
You can see it on Google Play, or you can rent it wherever you rent your movies, Amazon Prime, Vudu, or Apple TV.
All right. Excellent. Well, next week we are talking about Shaft. You can find it in those places. And if you want to find us, the Film Majors, on social media, you can find us at Film Majors Pod on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And if you want to shoot us an email, tell us what you thought of our 2023 in review. What would you have liked to hear us talk about that didn't pop up on any of our lists or any of our episodes?
Yeah.
We love to hear criticism, constructive or no.
I'm gonna keep it completely real with you right now. I'm literally moving Oppenheimer up my list before Saltburn. So
before what?
Before Saltburn. It's going to be my number 3 instead of my number 4.
That's a wise choice.
Like
nice.
It needed.
Yeah. That's a very good choice. And I like Saltburn.
Go on. Let's leave.
I have to say really quickly, I am not only a contributor to this podcast, but also a listener. And I think that 2023 in review beats the hell out of 2022 in review.
I think we've found more of our groove.
We found more of our groove.
We've been getting deeper into the films, and I love that.
We had a broad spectrum of topics this month, which I really enjoyed discussing with you two. Each episode was not just reviewing a movie we liked, but really talking about last year as a whole, and how you can kind of confine that to the one pick that we had. And I think that was really beautiful, and I'm proud of all of us. And I think that we're better than every other podcast.
You're goddamn fucking right.
I don't know what you're doing if you're not listening to us all the time.
Right. All right.
Spoken like 2 white men on a podcast.
Yeah, that's what we do.
You darn tootin' cool beans, right?
I am to keep you grounded.
Thank you, King. All right. But yes, you can email us at filmmagerspod@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts. And let's get the fuck out of here. It's so late. Goodbye.
I'm going to play my guitar at you now.